we are recording now, so whenever you would like to start, you are free to do so.
I feel like such a total tool. You are going to have to cut this down. I just did a fantastic intro with the mute button on. I am.
What makes you think this isn't
I
just
am
going to be the
humbled.
start right here? Just start
I
the.
am extremely humbled by this.
Great, so we found the intro point. Do you want to take that from the top again?
No, I can't even replicate that one. But I'll just go ahead and say hello, everybody. Welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work. I am your absolute clown of a host, Zach Lybrand, and I am joined by Joe Zada. We're going to try something a little different tonight. And instead of Joe talking at you for 2 hours, I'm going to talk at you for 2 hours. So get your ear holes ready. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. You still haven't pronounced my last name right.
Zada, isn't it?
Zeta, long A. It doesn't matter. Stepping out of your clown car directly into another smaller clown car.
Yes. I can get one part of your name right. It's either the first syllable or the last syllable, but not both because my brain can't handle that.
It's fine. We're off to a swimming
I am
start.
supremely sorry. Yeah.
This is. I don't care.
This is a great one.
We're off to the races. So let me.
My brain is fried. Keep going. Let's keep going.
Right. I'm going on to the next slide.
So
why does it say train order bullshittery?
What you see on your screen today is two Texas Electric Railway interurban cars that have collided and partially telescoped into each other. You may ask how this happened. The title of the slide, Train Order Bullshittery, ought to be a hint. But before we get into how and when and where this happened, we have to do the news.
Yes.
Next slide.
All right, folks. Now, you might not know this, but monorail secrets are apparently covered by the deep state every day. They don't want you to know this. They hijacked the Jewish space laser to send weather at me so that no one would be able to know my secrets that are apparently things. But that's the
Joe Zeta flew too close to the sun when he did his investigation into why the monorail is so great, and when he tried to tell the world about it, so the Jewish cabal decided that he had to be smited off of this earth.
So much. Yours sounds much better than mine does. But
I live in Texas. I've heard this guy just through osmosis way too much.
But oh god, I gave myself a headache just then. But yeah,
my throat hurts so bad.
You might have heard in the last episode some commotion in the background, especially around the point where I was talking about how monorails need infrastructure connected to them, like specifically when I was talking about like the transportation and ticketing center at Disney World. That commotion, which included somebody coming into my room and then maybe the sound of sirens in the background, was me basically. Also, maybe the vibrating noise of my phone was me flat out ignoring the fact that an EF1 tornado was touching down about 5 miles from my house. And
we are dedicated to bringing you all the truth about the monorails, and we're not going to let a silly little tornado get in the way of that.
Which is also why there was a technical difficulty shortly after that, because I guess it took out an internet line somewhere. And so my internet briefly farted out and died for about 5 minutes, and it took us longer than that to reestablish a connection. So that's why I was almost I did at one point look outside, and like there's a tree near my window that I just all of the branches were moving in like a giant wave, and I'm like, ah, that's hard. That's harsh.
It's just happy to see you. That's all. It was waving.
Mm-hmm. It was moving in a big wave. It's like one of those. Ah, yeah. So straight line wind is coming through. So that was that was something to note. I think that's actually the closest a tornado has come to the house in ages. But every couple of years we get something like this. What was it? 2 years ago, we had one that came, which was really interesting because I had picked. I had a. If any of you know that I did a podcast previously, I stopped doing it because I didn't find it fun anymore. But the guy I did the podcast with actually was in the US for a different thing, and he came out to see me. And with the first night he was here, there was a tornado, and so we had to yell at him to get into the basement because he had no idea what was going
Oh
on.
hell yes.
But
To be
but
fair, you'd probably have to yell at me to get into the basement too. But
well,
I grew up in Tornado Alley, so I've like a tornado touches down. If it's if it's more than 3 blocks away, I'm probably sitting on the back porch with a beer, just watching it go by.
yeah, we don't have enough to get that level of inurement, but I've now had two different occasions where I have been at an event featuring live music where my time has been spent not enjoying the live music, but rather watching the weather channel on my phone, like watching the AccuWeather app on my phone, trying to figure out whether or not something is going to get destroyed by a tornado near me. Because from
I have been on a train where at every stop I get to, while I had the doors open, I was checking the radar to see if I should keep going to the next station or not because dispatch wasn't giving us any information.
Oh no, this was better. I was at a concert, and the concert was in Cleveland. In my house, it's like 50 miles away from Cleveland. So we were getting texts from like our friends were with us. They were getting texts from their neighbors saying like there's the sirens are on. There's it's raining. I'm scared. And we're like and we're checking through like the
Are we
terrible
gonna have a
service.
home to go
Yeah,
home
we're
to?
checking through the terrible service, and of course, my brother was home, so we were texting him go to the basement. And then the funnier one was I went to a friend's daughter's um, high school play, and the ed and it was Beauty and the Beast. And about halfway through Be Our Guest, just the entire audience at like started peppering the song with the emergency alert tones because there was a tornado system like at the south end of the county and we're at the north end, so it was going off like continuously.
I I think that school really missed a chance to bring a new level of realism to the Wizard of Oz. They should have done that play. Why they didn't plan this out is just completely beyond me.
I mean, they, they barely had the audio working in that I'm gonna let them slide on that.
School plays. They'll never get it quite right, but
It
gosh
could
darn
be
it, they
worse.
try.
It could be worse. It could be independently produced plays that my friend's daughter also does, which are notable for the fact that they
Mm.
do not ever feature props. Have you?
Uh.
I saw. Okay, I could go on for an hour about this. I won't, but I once saw Xanadu the musical in a Elks Lodge in Sandusky, which was done in almost theater in the round, except that the building was square, so it was theater in the rectangle. The There was no props. Two people had roller skates on, which, if you know anything about Xanadu, that requires that. Also, something that
Yeah.
I didn't know is that I love Xanadu, the movie. It's terrible, but in the best way. Whoever wrote the Broadway production of Xanadu, the musical, which is what this was an adaptation of for children, um, hated it. And so it was a mean spirited parody of Xanadu that I did not know was a mean spirited
Oh
parody of
no.
Xanadu. So all of the choices were A, wrong, and B, lefts, to the point where the kid playing Zeus had a thick French accent. I assumed at this point in the play that this was just a style choice, and I just went with it, and I did not learn until after the play that actually he was a French exchange student.
Oh.
And even better, at one point, I thought I was losing my mind because I showed up there like 2 minutes before the play started because there's no parking because who goes to an Elks Lodge nowadays? And so I missed
Right.
that they had a raffle. And this production, for whatever reason, this company, they do this all the time. They just have the raffle get drawn randomly throughout the show, and they will just stop the show and do that. And so
What the fuck?
the characters, one of which was my friend's daughter, just stopped what she was doing, which was a scene in which her character was throwing a tantrum. I couldn't explain Xanadu the musical to you in less than an hour, but she stands up, proceeds to say, "Is anybody? Does anybody have this number?" And I'm thinking that at this point we have diverged so far from reality that this is just part of the show, because the person who had won the raffle was 9 million years old and didn't realize that they were holding it in their hand, and so they keep calling for it over and over and over again until um, eventually I see my friend whose daughter this is, her mother-in-law is holding a ticket, and you can just hear the scare chords start playing as the bit transcends reality into my life, because I was unaware that that this was actually a real thing that was going on. So if you love Xanadu and you have never seen Xanadu the musical, go find a children's production of it and just disassociate for 2 hours. You'll have the worst
Oh, that's
time,
wild.
but it's so important that you have this experience.
That
Also,
sounds very surreal.
it was
Like
not as
I don't know
surreal
if
as
I could believe what was happening in front of me.
no, not as surreal as the production of Pinocchio they did, where all of the characters who were puppets or like children were humans, but all of the adults were gigantic 8 foot tall puppets that were
That's
puppeted by
that's
like
quite
four
a
children.
stylistic choice.
Four children each puppeted these things, and I wasn't told about it until the puppet was being walked down the center aisle. They had
That
like
that touches
19.
on a lot of weird phobias.
That was so weird. Anyways, we are straying very far away within the first 10 minutes, so I'm going to click the next slide button if that's
We're
okay with
good
you.
at that. Let's go for it. What do you got next?
This one's all you, man.
Joe, I want you to know that Sundays are my favorite day at work. Sunday is a day in which my workload is incredibly easy. And this previous Sunday, we're recording on July 3rd, 2025. This previous Sunday, June 29th, was supposed to be any other Sunday. I would not take a train out of my home yard. I would not take a train to the Union Pacific yard that I go to. I would just pick one up from them, take locomotives over there, pick one up from them, and bring it back to my home yard. I can usually be done in about 4 hours. It's great. I love it. We got held up by a little bit of traffic getting over there, and promptly upon our arrival from into the Union Pacific yard, the yardmaster called me and said, "Hey, find a spot out of the way and hang tight for a while." And I said, "Okay, why? We waiting on something to come by before we start building our train?" And he goes, "No, Amtrak just derailed as they were leaving Dallas." I was like, "That's weird." So my engineer and I start trying to figure out what's going on. We listen between Dallas and Fort Worth, the Amtrak number 20, 21 and 22. In this case, Amtrak 21. They travel over the Trinity Railway Express between Dallas and Fort Worth. So we flipped over to the radio channel that was used by the Trinity Railway Express and started listening to the conversation. It was not very clear at the time exactly where they had derailed, but we did hear that we did hear the engineer tell the dispatcher that they had, quote unquote, a few axles on the ground, but that there are no injuries. It's like, okay, that's fine. Um, the location that they described sounded like a spot that shouldn't have impacted me at all. But the TRE dispatcher did tell me over the phone that I absolutely was not getting a train back to my home yard before this got cleaned up. So we waited and waited and waited. And finally, somewhere around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I want to say. Bear in mind, I came on duty at 9:30 in the morning. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we finally established that we weren't going anywhere else for the rest of the day, period. End of story. And I found this out when the dispatcher told me that they expected to have this incident cleaned up by midnight. Midnight for a few axles on the ground. So I called my boss. I made some arrangements to get me and my engineer back to where our vehicles were parked. That took a little bit of back and forth trying to figure out who was going to come pick us up because nobody was on duty to do that because nobody expected us to be trapped without having something happen to us, like if we had derailed and then there'd already be a manager out there that could give us a ride. So eventually we did get back to the home yard, and I did what any good reporter would do, and I clocked out, hopped in my car, and immediately went over to where Amtrak derailed. And sure enough, they put the lead axle of the leading truck on the locomotive on the ground, the leading axle of the rear truck of the locomotive, both axles on the front truck of the first car, and the leading axle on the trailing truck on the first car. So that is a total of 5 axles on the ground because a the rail had gotten so hot in the Texas sun that it had one rail, not both, one rail had moved and flexed a little bit as it expanded in the heat and allowed the leading, well, it allowed these axles to just drop in between the rails. The gauge went well over the normal 56 and a half inches that we should get in North America, and it derailed them. And Amtrak was stuck there until roughly midnight. And by the time I showed up, Holcher, the contractor that usually picks up derailments like this, was just showing up. And then I realized that part of the reason why this wasn't going to get cleaned up until roughly midnight was because they had called Holcher, who does not have a crew or does not keep equipment or crews anywhere near Dallas. Their closest station is in Houston. So those guys had to be called and then load their equipment up on trucks and then drive all the way up to Dallas. And they were just getting there when I showed up around 6:45, 7 o'clock in the evening.
According to the photo on your car's dashboard, it was 7:21.
That's when I was leaving. That's when I got back in the car and I was leaving. Notably, that photo might be a little hard to see, but you can see that I'm on a 3-lane road. So I captured in this one photo both the first and second worst thing to happen on this corner of Dallas, because in the center lane you can see an X where JFK's head just did that thing and Amtrak derailed.
Is your car also running out of gas? I see a little red light on the dashboard. Is that your gas?
No, it's bitching at me because I had a TPMS that was, I guess the battery was dying and I had to replace it. I got that taken care of. It's fine. It was just screaming at me because it didn't know what the pressure was in one of my tires.
My mom has a Honda Odyssey that did the same thing for ages. What year is yours? Because that looks so familiar.
2012.
Is it a?
That is a 2012 Civic.
Yeah, it looks so similar to the Odyssey, in like all
Hmm.
the UI design. It's good when companies are consistent like that. Looking at you, Ford. My dad's my dad's Explorer and my Expedition are the same model year, and the interiors are so radically different that you'd think that they were from like different generations of car. The
Is it
screen
different trim levels or what?
No, they're the same trim level. The screens aren't even the same shape.
What the hell?
I have a
Does one of you have like a half year?
No, no, they're both 20 they're both 2020s. They're both platinum trims. Uh Dad has
Ooh,
a
look at you, high roller.
I absolutely. But no, they're dead serious. Like Dad's has a vertical screen on it, mine's horizontal. The dials and buttons are in the steering wheels are different even. It's like they have different. I came from a
That's a surprising difference.
I used to have a G. Like I drove Dad's car for the weekend once because my battery was dying, and I thought it was something different. But I had, which by the way, Ford Expedition batteries $340, and they're coded to the car. I hate it. But I drove Dad's car, and like the the radio controls are on the other side of the wheel. It's also like all the different buttons are arranged wrong from mine. I guess it must be that the Explorer is technically a crossover, and the Expedition shares more with the F-150. But I came from
Huh.
I used to drive a GM. I drove a Chevy Tahoe before this, and that steering wheel and center entertainment stack you could get on everything from Saturn to Pontiac to Cadillac for a long time because GM is notably just a parts bin that sells cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Parts interchangeability is an incredible thing. And that is why that's also part of why you still see so many older EMD locomotives running.
Yep.
EMD was a member of the GM family, and there are just so many parts that I could yank off of one locomotive and put it on another one that was built 30 years earlier, and it'll just work.
Have you ever seen the photos of the Lagrange plant in like 1990 when they're having like the annual company picnic, and they have a photo of all of the engines that they have lined up because they have like something they just built. They got IRM's Streamliner, they got a couple of other like older EMDs, and then in front of them is every single guy on the floor who used his GM employee discount to buy a Corvette. And so
Hell yeah.
all of their Corvettes are right in front of the locomotives. It's the raddest fucking picture.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, and of course my favorite ever GM ad is the F-59 PHI with the 93.
Yes, dude, if I could
it.
get that as a poster, I would have that in my office.
I would. Oh, it's so good. Remember when they were the same company? And for those of you who still have like short lines near you that aren't under Little Orange, there are still a couple
That hurt.
There is still a couple GM leaser units sitting around. Wheeling Lake Erie, up where I live, has one still. It's one of their last ones. But everybody wants to keep it that way, so we're gonna have to see if they touch it up or if they repaint it into. Oh no, the Wheeling Lake Erie wants to repaint it into their corporate scheme, which is just a ripoff of the Rio Grande.
The Rio Grande speed lettering in Ohio.
Okay, it's so funny. People will occasionally post photos of like the last Rio Grande like SD40s in Colorado or wherever, and I'm just like, because they have a matched.
You see pretty much the same thing.
No. They have a matched pair of tunnel motors that they've never repainted.
Oh shit.
They are like aside from a little reporting mark directly under the numbers, that's it. That's the only thing they've ever changed. They have PTC on them now, but they've never changed the Rio Grande lettering or anything.
Now that's pretty cool.
And so they have a matched pair. They actually,
and this is why I tend to lean towards anything GM, And that's why I still like if I ever bought domestic, it'd be something from the GM family because this shit just don't quit.
The interiors are terrible, but they will never. But the car will continue to run unhappily for
Okay,
two or 300,000
okay.
miles.
GM don't quit except for the seats in the cab of the locomotive. You have to replace those at some point. You're
Mm-hmm.
eventually the horsehair just withers to
Horsehair.
dust.
Oh my god. It's not it's
S-
not insulation foam that just goes lumpy after a while, like
Uh
like the seat of my
most of what I
Tahoe.
have is there is one that is old enough to still have horsehair in it.
Oh my god. What do
That
they
was a
have?
horrendous discovery.
What do they have in the gen sets? Is it just hard plastic? I feel like it would just be hard plastic.
No, it varies from which gen set you're looking at, but they're actually pretty comfortable seats because the seats were one of the things that was replaced with new when they were rebuilt.
Mm, okay. And so now that we've
Except for the
successful.
one that for some reason they decided not to give the conductor armrest. So anytime I try to fall asleep, I lean off to the side and almost fall out of my chair and scare myself awake.
Okay, with that, we're gonna go on to the next slide. What's the next slide?
What
Yes,
do
this
we got?
one. So this is just more of a this is an updating thing. I believe that most of you listening to this will be regular watchers of Well There's Your Problem. This is part of that ultimate urban circulator thing they're trying to do. Basically they have an autonomous Ford Transit van driving around now. I'm not I I don't have enough information other than that this is probably really stupid.
It
Um,
it looks goofy. It looks like something I drew and colored when I was in first grade.
I mean that's actually none of that is actually that's just a stock Ford Transit. That's
Yeah,
just what the Ford
it looks
Transit
like it.
it looks like.
Well, I mean the design on
Oh,
the
that
wrap, yeah.
yeah.
But like
Uh,
solid blue and just a kind of hard to see design on it that you think is high art. Yeah.
yeah. It's So this is in Jacksonville. I don't really have much more of it, but considering this is Florida, I'm wondering what the odds are going to be on this either running somebody over or somebody trying to insurance fraud this thing into running them over.
What
Uh,
if I try to insurance fraud it when I go to Jacksonville in September?
then you won't be on the podcast because it'll actually run. I have a feeling that if you try to insurance fraud it, it will just run you over. Like, like
I
it.
I have to go to Jacksonville for training in September, and maybe I can get maybe I can get somebody from one of the other short lines who's training with me who might be a little more yokel to just like maybe I could offer him a case of like Bud Light or something and be like, hey, go see if it'll stop for you.
Yokels drink
Just
Modelo
convince somebody.
nowadays. Nobody drinks Bud.
Modelo or Dos Equis.
Nobody drinks
I
Bud
have
Light
seen
anymore.
I have seen so much Dos Equis being pumped out of a brewery that ships through the UP, and they will just send like 60 box cars a day full of Dos Equis
Oh
through the
my
yard.
god. I guess it's now woke to drink piss, so nobody drinks Bud Light, but also it's what's the opposite of woke? It's conservative to drink piss, so nobody drinks
I'm
Bud Light.
I'm kind of shocked that Mexican beers in general are this popular considering the current political climate. You think you think there'd be a bunch of people going like, oh yeah, we don't need no Mexican stuff here, back out, and
I've
then they would
wondered that.
toss out like the 6 pack of Modelo that's been sitting in the back of their fridge for the last year.
I've wondered that too. I feel like Corona the beer's ground game was so thorough that it's sort of like one of these things where people don't think about it. It must occupy the same corner of the brain that means that somebody walks into a Buick dealership and asks to buy an all-American car and drives away in the Chinese-made Buick Envision? Or the South Korean-made Buick Encore? Or before it got discontinued, the German-made Buick Regal Tour X?
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, the last gen Buick Regal before they discontinued it was entirely Opel, and now
Huh.
GM sold that off. Yeah, that's why if you ever watch, I watched a couple like European cop shows on HBO, and they drove an Opel Insignia, which is just the Buick Regal of the last gen.
No, I'll be
And
damned.
and so yeah, seriously, Buick makes one American made car, and that's the big one. The I can't remember the name, but whichever one that's based
Oh,
on
I
the
don't
Chevy,
know.
it's the Chevy Traverse platform. That's the only American.
Oh,
That's the only American car they make, and they're so ugly nowadays. But we're going to keep talking about cars, and I can't. We're going to go long. So next one, uh, yeah. Um, this is more of a. I think I stretched the image out a little bit when I resized it, but I
whoopsies.
at some point you can only start fucking down because fucking up further is impossible. I don't know I don't know which direction this train was going or which track it was on when it crashed, but I
All
don't.
I mean, just kind of based on the way everything's piled up, all I could figure is that it was going from left to right, and it looks like there's two lines that diverge just off frame to the left, and maybe it split a switch in there. If that was the case, they had to been doing a pretty good speed to get to the point where the diverging tracks are that far apart. I'm
Well,
honestly impressed.
what confuses me more is that it clearly seems like the locomotive in the center of the frame was the back of 3, and then you've got the center unit and then you've got the leading unit, but the leading unit seems to be the most heavily damaged, and it was damaged in the back. So was it
I
reversing?
I don't.
Like
So
this like
based
this
based
uh,
on the fact that I don't see damage off to the right of the rightmost locomotive, I wonder if they're just running long hood forward, and that locomotive
uh
that's facing off to the left was the leader.
okay.
Which,
That
I mean, if there was something wrong with the switch, that could have contributed to why nobody saw it, because god damn it is hard to run long hood forward. Most of the time the engineer is just looking in the mirror and watching.
Yeah, cuz nobody has bidirectional controls anymore, or
They
bidirectional
kind of
nobody has
so they kind of no well nobody has it like the Southern Railway used to, where they just had two different control stands
yeah,
based on which way you're going.
NS still has
But
some
those
engines
control
like that.
stands you can kind of turn
Yeah.
and look out the back door and see down there, but most guys just sit the comfortable way and look in the mirror.
Yeah. NS still has a few engines like that with bidirectional control stands. They are notably high hoods though. That's the funny thing.
Yes,
So you can't see
and they're
either
rad.
way.
They're so rad.
Oh yeah, no, they have 3 of them at the yard out by me in Bellevue. So they run, none of them have PTC on them, which is a shame. So they're trapped in the yards or as second units.
Aw. No, I don't blame him. PTC is expensive. You're looking at like 10 or 20 grand per locomotive.
Oh yeah. And it's a whole shit show too. We got to spend that on the lowest bidder possible, which is why every once in a while you'll see an NS train pull out of the yard and screech to a stop from 15 miles an hour, and then spend an hour trying to diagnose the PTC fuck ups. Blocking.
For those of you who have worked with PTC directly, this is when you enable your best friend restricted mode, go forward about 100 feet or so, stop, and then take it out of restricted mode again.
Oh,
It works every time.
no, it doesn't, because they do that, and it never works. Usually, what happens is the
If you
trains.
if you do it the way the help desk wants you to do it, it doesn't work. But if you do it the way that you shouldn't, it works.
Because what ends up happening, and I'll tell you exactly what happens, is that I show up to the railroad crossing. It is blocking 4 crossings, by the way. The train is stopped. The train
Hell yeah.
remains stopped for anywhere between half an hour and an hour. Then it goes forward, slams on the brakes, like they've just put into restricted mode. The train stops, then it backs up. This may repeat or it might not. And then at some point within the next 45 minutes, a white SUV comes bouncing out of the yard. Someone gets out of the SUV, climbs into the locomotive, and then minutes later the train sets off. I don't know who this other person is, but I'm guessing he gets a free ride.
And they leave the SUV behind?
He has been given a ride by like the SUV is by like a car driven by a car man.
I wonder if you're seeing them build a train and that's the conductor doing an air test and getting up to the head end.
They are not. This yard is 5 miles long. They are not sticking out the end of Bellevue Yard to build the train up. They have 3 different sorting bowls. They've got 2 bowls and then 3 different receiving and sorting yards.
That's odd. I'd have to sit there and listen, like watch that and listen on the radio to figure out what's going on.
Oh yeah, I never carry a scanner because in my mind I'm like, if I do that, I'm into the kind of foamer who shows up wearing a shirt for a railroad that doesn't exist, that's 2 sizes too small, and I can't do that.
And a denim vest with like 100 different logo patches all over it.
Don't forget the high.
Do you get those guys?
Yes.
With the high-vis vest on top of the denim vest and a hickory stripe cap.
It's most of the hats around here are either railroad memorabilia or railroad equipment from a railroad that they either used to work for or they got it from someone who did.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, because if you get one of those, that's like ultimate bragging rights for rail fans.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's always like that. I'm usually a very good judge of looking at someone by this and going like, you have opinions that I'm not interested in having delivered to me unsolicited.
Oh, it never fails. It never fails. Like sometimes I'll talk to rail fans on the side of tracks. Sometimes if I'm stopped near them, I'll go over and chat with them and see what's up. But like the most they could be wearing to make it super obvious that they're a rail fan is like a baseball hat with a railroad thing on it, a logo or a locomotive or something, or a t-shirt. Maybe a combination of both if I'm in a really good mood. Anything past that, I close the windows and just don't see them.
Oh, that's the same as me. I am always like, just at minimum, your shirt has to fit because I feel self-conscious when my shirts don't fit.
Oh, so. I hate that. We get it. Sizing shirts is hard. If you reach up above your head and a little bit of your belly is visible and it's not supposed to be, well, you know what? That's okay. You get a pass on that. But if you're just standing there and you refuse to buy a shirt that's big enough so I can see like a foot of your stomach hanging out below the hem of the shirt, I don't want to talk to you. You're red flag central over there.
Yeah. I would not wear a Conrail branded crop top, but that would be hilarious to see that as official merch.
I am surprised that we have not. Honestly, I'm surprised that we have not seen that. Now that, we're getting a little society as a whole, despite what we see in the news, what's force fed to us all the time, society as a whole is getting a little better and more comfortable with sexuality. I am shocked that we have not seen a gay rail fan somewhere wearing a railroad crop top. And I feel like there's a niche market out there for somebody who could just drop ship something like that. So they don't have to have a whole stock of them that might not ever sell out. But like if you just offer that like blue crop top with a Conrail logo on it, you'll probably sell 20 or 30 of those. I'd bet on it.
I think if you did that in Europe, that would sell remarkably better. Americans are not the
Dutch NS logo on it.
Yeah, Americans are not the body type to wear. American rail fans, I'll preface this. Most American rail fans
Yep.
do
Okay.
not
Yep.
have the
Yep.
body type to wear a crop top.
Oh,
Stories, I don't have the body type to wear a crop top.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I don't either. That's why I don't wear them.
But
I think
over in Europe, I've seen I definitely have seen, because someone in the Well There's Your Problem has Discord has posted it, of the femboy train driver who brings that IKEA shark with them into the cab every time and wears like knee-high socks. And I'm just like, okay, we could make a commentary on gay communist European trains, but you are in the cab of a Trax locomotive, like one of the freight ones. I'm like, I don't think I can say anything that you already aren't doing.
I
That that person would wear a crop top.
that dude rules. Unfortunately, I think you're right that in the U.S. there's a very small subset of rail fans who look objective or subject. Which way would it be? Objectively good. I would say it's probably 5% of rail fans, and 4.5% of that is just Kelly Lynch's hair. Of the Fort Wayne Railway Historical Society.
I know. I've
that
met
dude.
him. I know who he is.
That dude took up all the good looks in railroading, and I'm offended by that. Leave some for the rest of us, dude.
I've met him. I've been.
So anyway, now that I've laid out that compliment, Mr. Lynch, can I come up and join y'all on an excursion sometime, please? I'll compliment your hair again if that's what it takes.
I'm sure you could just volunteer with them.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then you have to work your way up like a plebe.
That's true. That's unfortunate.
I'm trying to shortcut this shit. I need throttle time on a steam locomotive again, and it's been way too long.
They run that thing like how, did I tell you when they ran it up here recently in the Wheeling Lake Erie? They actually they called it, they let it run no locomotive behind it, just at line speed, which was like 45 miles an hour. Extra
Hell yeah.
765 west, you're cleared. Extra 765 east, you're cleared to go. And I watched that thing leave the NS interchange at Bellevue, and I'm like, oh, we're raising hell and praising Dale today, aren't we? And that was the fastest chase I have done on the Wheeling in a while. That thing was lying.
Anybody who runs steam locomotives today has a tale that they may or may not admit to of some time when they were allowed to just go like balls to the wall, throttle out the back window, reverser almost centered, just to see what the locomotive could do.
I can't wait for the T1 people to get that thing together. I want to see if they can beat Mallard's record.
I'm gonna go see that whenever it comes out. If there's any way I can work it, I want to go out and I want to see that thing. And by God, you'd better believe I'm gonna pack earplugs for that trip.
Oh my God, I'll pay my own way to fucking the TTC in Colorado just to see it do it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they're going. Oh, dude, I've got certain personal life things notwithstanding, hopefully working out by then. But I do have a trip for Colorado tentatively planned. Haven't figured out a date. Hopefully, I can make it coincide with that.
In 2030 is getting closer and closer. Much like the next slot, because otherwise we will hit 3 hours before we're done with the news.
Yes, we will.
I'm on the next slide. Yes. This is news I don't have a lot on. But
this caught all of us off guard.
Yeah. Basically the Russians, I don't know where they're doing this. I mean, obviously in the conflict area that they are invading Ukraine, but I don't know whether this is on their side of the lines, whether they're using this to to like supply the front lines against Ukraine deeper into the country, but like they are clearly using armored trains again. Um, if they weren't the bad guys, this would be really fucking rad. But they are the bad
I it
guys.
what hurts so bad is that it is rad.
It is
And
it.
you really want to look at that and go like, America, fuck yeah. And then you see who it is, and it's like, oh, god damn it. Don't make me admit that they're doing something cool. Come on.
What I like is they have the tank directly behind the locomotive, which means that it is theoretically possible that Yevgeny and Ivan could sweep the barrel and push the button at just the wrong moment and just completely pulp the engine's insides. Cross their own
It'd be
T.
like that scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm sorry, son. They got us. as as the prime mover is just spewing out oil and injector parts because you just blew a hole straight through the dead center of the engine block lengthwise.
Yeah, you've bored us. Comrade, congratulations! You have created second crankshaft hole. Unfortunately, comrade, we did not need second crankshaft hole at current time.
That upgrade was later.
That was not supposed to happen while engine is running. We have lost all oil pressure. Ka-tung, ping! A rod goes flying into the stratosphere. You have created rocket. And just the train comes to a stop. The Ukrainians just look at each other like, I feel bad.
They're desperately coasting as far as they can.
Yeah, the Ukrainians are just looking at each other like, I feel bad about this. Do we shoot them?
Is it? Is this kicking a man when he's down if we shoot them now?
Do we want to waste a drone, or do we just walk up with like a handgun and say get out?
I mean, if you at that point, if you just came up straight from ahead of or behind them and just walk between the rails, I think they're completely dead in the water, sitting ducks.
Just steal the entire train while they're in it with a John Deere tractor, like they did with the tanks in the beginning of the war.
What are they doing with that chain? Oh, he put the chain on the coupler. Here we go. Woo!
It's like I remember
getting dragged at 3 miles an hour back to some Ukrainian farm.
Yeah, I remember reading right when this happened that the Ukrainian Income Tax Administration, or whoever it is, actually put out a tweet that was basically like, if you have any Russian equipment, fear not. This is the official value of this is 0. So feel free to claim this as a windfall on your taxes.
That fucking rules. Dudes rock. Oh my god.
Like, this stuff is worthless, so you can just have it.
Oh my god. That if the Ukrainians know how to do anything right, and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. I don't know enough about the war to truly criticize anybody for technical details. Obviously, I could say Russia can go fuck itself. This whole thing is weird and creepy and pretty cringy that they're trying to take this. But the one thing that I know for a fact that Ukraine gets right is they know how to increase morale. And they have been, the fact that they have been keeping it up as high as it is, and just through little things like declaring war trophies to be worthless for tax purposes, they know how to keep their country united.
You know it's bad when you get effectively trolled by an income tax agency.
Oh, as a general in Moscow that saw the news and shed a little tear.
Mm-hmm. You know, I keep going back to that one meme, 3-day invasion update. Fuck. Of just
Blit.
3-day invasion update. Fuck. That's just. But yeah, we don't really have any other constructive comments on this. It appears to be
No way.
Standard Russian railway equipment. These are.
It looks like it was slightly modified. Like
It
that flat car with the tank on it has
yeah.
that weird ramp behind it. Is
It
that supposed to absorb the shock, the
I
kickback of
I
the
feel
cannon
like it's
firing?
I feel like it's more just to make sure it doesn't slide because I'm not sure if they actually have it
Maybe.
tied to the thing. Um, Other than that, there's not much else to tell. I mean, the locomotive is. I remember. I read.
It does have that has armor panel on it.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it's lightly modified.
it's been armored. That locomotive is, I think, one of the ones that's technically a derivation of an old U.S. design from the 50s because the Soviets. That was what we
What
were
the
still.
fuck?
Well, I thought that it was like a lot of the Soviet designs were based off of stuff that we gave to them right before we stopped being friends with them during like World War II. So like old
Yeah, and they got
Alcos.
American Locomotive Company designs, so
Yeah,
that's why they all just spew black smoke.
yeah, that's kind of why they look like that, and so I think that might be derived from it, but who knows? I mean, the last big armored trains in Serbia were actual just EMD export units. So, which fun fact, the EMD export unit that was like the famous Serbian armored train during that conflict is still around. It's still in daily service. They just pulled the armor plating off of it when the war was over. It
I mean,
that engine probably has PTSD, but who knows?
can't wait for that Thomas and Friends character to make its debut.
It just the camera just pans over and the narrator says, "This is Yevgeny. He is the sad Serbian engine." No wait, what is a
We
sad?
don't we don't ask about the war.
Tom, the entire episode is Thomas helping Yevgeny, the export engine, to through his nightmares or something.
Oh no.
Learning not to yell at him when he wakes up screaming in the middle of the night about how the Bosnians have a landmine on the high ground.
Oh, fuck me.
Did you ever see that video of the it was either like the Croats or the Serbs or one of them. They took a sea mine to the top of a mountain and it because it's round, they just took all the spiky
You
bits
rolled
off
it.
and pushed it down
Yeah,
the
it just
hill.
rolled it down. Yeah, oh my god, that's nightmare fuel.
That's it's one of those videos you're watching it's like, "Holy shit. This is like something that no one has ever done before."
I do remember watching that and going, "Wait, you can do that?"
Boing, boing, boing. The sphere is loose. Take cover. And it just rolls down the
Oh my
hill
god.
and it's such like a it was like such a sharp noise too because they must have used like it's not a slow explosive that was high explosives like TATP or something. So but yeah, again, we're getting off track for the how many slides are we on? 5. Cool. Next slide.
It's
Now we're on
52 minutes on my recording.
excellent. We're now on a slide about streetcars, and despite volunteering at a streetcar museum, I don't know what any of this, so you need to start talking now.
So, we
Oh,
mentioned that we're going to be talking about a little bit of train order bullshittery. What were you going to say?
oh, I saw it says, "What the fuck is an interurban?" I do know what that means.
Yeah, so and what the fuck is an interurban? Well, it's kind of a lost term in the terms of uh, public transit, unless you are on a very niche server that talks about modern public transit systems, and they go, well, yeah, X service is basically an interurban today. Um, so a lot of us have seen exposure to streetcars, trolleys, trams, whatever your local parlance is. And those are the ones that typically run within city limits. And it was the first iteration of a bus, more or less. The interurbans are not quite Greyhound, but they covered a lot more ground than the early protobuses, which were the streetcars, while also not going across the nation like a Greyhound bus could. So the interurbans were what made them distinct was that they ran longer routes than streetcars or trolleys or trams or whatever you want to call them. They used larger vehicles. You can see in that photo on the bottom left, it is that box motor is just absolutely towering over the sedan. to the left of it in the frame there. Um,
I think if we
and that
want to call it,
awning.
I think if we want to call this anything, it should be medium rail because it's definitely not light rail, but this also isn't heavy rail.
Yeah, it's a weird little niche. Um, we what also made the interurbans distinct was that not only did they carry passengers, but they would also serve freight customers as well. This could be done by either running interurban cars like the one we see on the bottom. You can see it just has two big sliding doors on the side of the car. Most of that car is empty space that could be loaded with freight, and it would get dropped off at various interurban stations along the routes. And then whoever the receiver was would have to go there and pick it up, or it could take uh, it could take carloads of freight to a customer if they paid for it like they would with any other railroad. It was just delivered by the interurban. This could be achieved either with box motors, like what we see in the bottom left, or if you look at the top image on the right side of the frame, you see this weird little thing that has an arched roof and then kind of large windows under the roof, and then a weird open space in front of those windows. That is a freight motor. It was a separate locomotive that was designed to haul freight cars that it would pick up from interchange from a larger railroad. So you could ship a car from New York, have it loaded up with, I don't know, ZDs. A boxcar full of baked ZD from New York could be shipped down to Texas. That boxcar would then be picked up by that little freight motor on the right side of the image, and then your boxcar of baked ZDs would be delivered to the local New York deli, and the New York deli in Dallas. And you could get anything shipped that way as long as you were willing to pay for it. Um,
It's like the modern day,
the
the
int,
old timey version of Gold Belly.
I mean, pretty much.
Which I do
These
have a question, Professor Lybrand, which is, did they ever
what you
haul
got?
interchange freight like freight cars using the box motors, or were those not like have enough oomph? Because I know that the freight motors themselves are fucking chunky.
Yes, they did. Those box motors were equipped with couplers. Um, there, so we don't have it. I should have put a photo of this somewhere in the slideshow. We don't have any photos of it in the slideshow, but there are photos of a box motor hauling uh, box cars and tank cars behind it so that it would stop at the interurban stations and unload cars from the box or unload items from the box motor, maybe picks them up to take to stations further down the line. But then it also had freight cars behind it that along the way it was going to deliver to a customer, maybe pick up cars that that customer had released to go back and be loaded or unloaded elsewhere.
Did they ever
It would do the
multi-mode?
work. They could
Did they ever multi-mode?
that that's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. Um I don't know if the Texas Electric Railway in particular, which the Texas Electric Railway is what we're going to be talking about today. Um I don't know if they ever set up anything for multiple unit capabilities. And for those of you who may not know, multiple unit is a system in which you could couple multiple powered pieces of equipment together and have them all be controlled by one motorman. The motorman is a guy who, quote unquote, drives these interurbans. So from one, he could control all the motors simultaneously from one control stand. I don't know if the Texas Electric ever set that up for any of their equipment, passenger
I'm
or
just
freight.
I'm just imagining like the world's most fucked up mixed train is a box motor MU'd to a passenger motor. Right, or like three box motors or something, or here's a fun one, a box motor towing a passenger car. Like just the world's most fucked up concept.
Oof.
Cuz
So,
I know that a lot of places did multiple uniting, like up in Cleveland, the Shaker Rapid actually they had Coolman cars, center entrance cars, they would run five of them together on
Oh,
certain
I believe it.
days, up to like
I
60
mean, if
miles
the
an
demand
hour.
was there, if the demand was there for extra space and you didn't want to pay, five different motormen, why not just pay one and have him carry five cars in this train? It it is a very important feature that has been developed for exactly that reason. I'm just not sure if the Texas Electric ever did that. So go ahead.
Oh no, I don't have anything else.
Oh, so the last two things that make an interurban distinct from like streetcar service are going to be it usually has a separate fare from city specific public transit like streetcars or local buses. You had to, if you got off a streetcar and onto an interurban, you had to pay a different fare. You might be able to get transfers as part of like a promotional deal, but they were typically handled by separate companies that wanted to keep the finances separate and wouldn't honor fares from one or the other.
Yeah, unless it was something
And the
like
last,
the Chicago North Shore, I believe, operated long distance interurbans and then local services as well. But
yeah, I mean, if they handled both sides of that, then yeah, they would probably, you could probably get transfers between the two. But in a lot of cases, the interurbans were separate from local public transit.
yeah,
And the last thing that makes the interurban different is that most of these interurban lines offered multiple classes of service for passengers, just like how you could fly coach or first today. You could ride an interurban in coach or first, and a lot of the times the difference was not only where you sat within the body of the car itself, but also what you sat on, and in some cases, whether or not you were allowed to smoke. A lot of times, smoking was reserved for first class passengers. I don't care if you have a 2 hour commute from Dallas back up to McKinney after a long day of work. Uh, you are going to have to ignore the nicotine jonesing because you didn't pay the extra 25 cents to sit in the comfy seats at the back of the car. You could smoke when you get there. Let's go on to that next slide.
this
What were you going to say? That sounds.
that sounds much. That sounds terrible if you smoke, but very healthy if you don't smoke.
I mean, I guess it would have been a little better than an airplane because at least you could open the windows.
Yeah, I would also. I would also pay good money for the first class section to be the non-smoking section. I
But remember back then it was healthy.
yeah.
It was good for
Oh,
you.
that's right. It was
Nine
good
out
for
of
you
10,
back then.
9 out of 10 doctors recommend Winston cigarettes.
And Fred Flintstone does too. I also
I love, I love that.
I love some of the names on this map. So you can obviously there's places that are like Waxahachie, Waco, Denison. Like these are places that like I sort of am aware of. I like that you can just go to Rice, the food. There's also Italy. I didn't know that you could go to
Yep,
Italy on the Texas Electric. Um,
yep.
Farmers
I
Branch. Just a guy named Joshua. Um, St.
we almost
Ferris.
got
Um,
we almost got a line to Paris as well.
that's
The
fantastic.
funding fell through for it there.
And then, oh, I see West, which is obviously I want to make a joke about directions, but actually I do know about West because of that fertilizer company disaster. And then down there you can get blown up and burned to the ground by the ATF in Waco.
Yeah, you can go down see the wackos in Waco, and guess what? They can come up to Dallas on the interurban.
There's so many different companies here too. Like is Tarrant County Traction and Northern Texas Traction associated with the Texas Interurban, or are they just like also there?
So the Texas Electric Railway was an amalgamation of four different traction companies. The original Texas Electric line was Dallas to Denison, and eventually they took over another company that's not shown on this map called the Southern Traction Company, which ran from Dallas to Corsicana. That's that one that kind of goes down from Dallas and to the right a little bit. Texas Electric Railway then merged with the Texas Interurban Railway that ran Dallas to Denton. The Northern Texas Traction Company and the Tarrant County Traction Company, which handled the line out west to Fort Worth and down to Cleburne. And the Texas Interurban Railway, which ran east to Terrell. This was the result of Dallas being rather unhappy with the current service that was being offered on the Texas Interurban Railway, which through some weird bit of legalese, the city of Dallas owned but didn't own, but they could contract it out. Stone and Webster, who was a large contract company that ran several local power utilities and streetcar services across the nation, lost the contract for the Texas Interurban Railway. Dallas gave it to General Electric and then somehow convinced General Electric to get all of these various lines to merge together into one united system. And when they did that, it brought the mileage up to right about 200 miles altogether. From if you count everything you see in the map here, that came out to 200 miles, give or take, which made it the largest interurban system west of the Mississippi, not including California, which is a distinction that they have to make because the Pacific Electric Interurban in the LA area was fucking massive. And pretty much all of this area would get freight and passenger service. All of it got passenger. I believe you could get less than carload freight on box motors delivered to any one of these stations as long as you were willing to pay for it. But not the entirety, but significant chunks of this route did have freight customers along the line. So if you were standing in, say, Plano, which is, what would that be, 1, 2, 3 stops north of Dallas, you could, in theory, be standing at the Texas Electric Railway station, watch an interurban passenger train come by, and then a few minutes later be followed along by a slightly slower box motor hauling a couple of tank cars full of crude oil and a box car full of, I don't know what they get. Plano's bougie. What do bougie people eat? It is a box car full of caviar. No, I take that back. Plano's not. Plano wants to be that rich. What's a food that seems rich but it's not? So
Plano, the home of Dr. Pepper?
No, so it wasn't quite Plano that was the home of it. Waco is the true home, but they didn't ever get served by the interurban because they were pretty close to a couple of like class 1 railroad yards. So all the plants they ever had got switched out by class 1 railroads that were referred to as steam roads at the time, but not the interurban, not in this area at least.
Okay. Maybe it's dildos going to the dick sucking factories in like Waxahachie or something.
No, Waxahachie's cool. That's probably what, you know what, Plano probably is getting all those dildos because they can go fuck themselves.
But
I will say that with one exception, with one exception in Plano. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say this is like 1917, so they'd all be like angina realigners or something stupid. Like it's all quack medicine.
Oh, what did they call it? It cures
your wife's hysteria.
Hysteria, that's right. All right. So yeah, so a boxcar full of gigantic wall plug dildos going up to, or vibrators going up to Plano to relieve the hysteria of all the women up there. I hate Plano. I hate just about everything about Plano except with one notable source. I would like to acknowledge one of my fantastic sources of information for this episode, which is the Texas Electric Railway Interurban Museum in downtown Plano. Y'all are cool. Everybody else sucks up there.
I love this
But yeah, this
intra-Texas hate. This is hilarious. I
um
I also like when
have
I
you ever
actually
heard the term Oh,
what were
go
you
on,
saying?
go on.
I like
I
when
was
I
gonna
was
say, have you ever heard the term $30,000 millionaire?
no, I haven't. That sounds
So
incredible.
Plano is the home of that. And the idea is that basically you only earn $30,000 a year, but you live life like you're a millionaire. Uh, I think there was even a short lived TV show about it because a lot of them would come down to Dallas and hang out in Uptown where all the bars were. And that's who I used to deal with when I ran the streetcars.
Oh my god. That's I that's phenomenal. No, I was just going to say I loved when I looked at the while you were talking I was pulling up a map of the DFW area and I'm just fascinated by the idea that like Lisbon and Lancaster and Italy and Ferris and Plano were all like independent cities at the time and Fort Worth as well and now it's just all one like cancerous mass of a metroplex.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like you had there was a distinct difference between them, and oddly enough, a lot of these cities still exist as cities. It's just you don't know when you leave one and enter the other, except for a little green sign on the side of the road that says like leaving Dallas, entering Mesquite.
That's Cleveland's like that too. There's probably a very interesting demographics and like urban studies degree in trying to figure out why some cities didn't merge into a unified government and others did. But
I I'm not sure what happened. Like some of the stuff that's closer to Dallas and Fort Worth. Um, Actually, oddly enough, most of the stuff that's close to Dallas and Fort Worth is still independent cities. Notably, if you go one dot to the right of Fort Worth, it says Handley. That's no longer a city. It is now just a neighborhood of Fort Worth that nobody really knows why it's called Handley unless you're really into niche transit history.
Arlington's still a city though. I stayed in there.
Oh my God. Unfortunately, that's a that's another city that I can't wait for it to just fall off the edge of the earth. Well, so that's oh, and the last thing, the Texas Electric Railway as a whole was formed in 1917. It ran until December 31st, 1948 on almost this entire route that you see here. The only thing that was abandoned earlier was from Dallas. If you follow that little leg that goes out into the right, down into the right, that goes down to Corsicana, that branch was approved for abandonment in 1941, and they did. It was it was an unpopular decision, but the ICC, the Interstate Commerce, what was it? Interstate Commerce Commission
Yeah. Unless
approved it.
yeah. That's actually that's basically now the I-45 corridor, isn't it? Basically following the line down through Ennis and everything.
Pretty much. I mean, that there's so we'll get into this a little bit more later, but a lot of like if you follow that line from the top of the map that says Denison and kind of trace that down and follow it through Dallas down to Corsicana, that whole route basically paralleled the Southern Pacific Railroad right of way, and that is still in use today. That first dot southeast of Dallas that says Hutchins, uh, Union Pacific has a relatively new, massive intermodal yard down there. It's still very heavily used.
I'm also noticing a shocking parallel between the Waco to Denton bits, which is just I-35E, and up to Denison is State Route
Yeah.
75. It seems. This is this is.
I
I'm
actually,
just
I didn't look into this.
I'm just
What
looking at
year
the.
did they make I-35 and split it up? Do, 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 do.
I'm just looking at
When
it.
did it
Looks
open?
it's
1959? 1959. So yeah, that probably still would have been pretty much open right away. That had been abandoned 11 years earlier.
And
Well,
I-30
less than that for the
follows.
planning stages.
Yeah, and I-30 follows the Texas Interurban. So this
Yeah,
is the bones of the Texas Electric built the Dallas that it is today. Clearly
pretty much. Like I follow the route of the Northern Texas Traction Company when I go home from work.
huh. Yeah, you do. That's right. That's
Try not to
remarkable.
dox myself too much here, but yeah, I follow a lot of that.
Please do not dox either of us. If you guess where we live, no, you didn't.
I mean, I've made it easy just from some of the pictures I've taken lately.
So have I. That's the thing. If you keep it
This
to
is fair.
yourself, keep it to yourself. Please do not guess where we live. The context
Well,
clues are an ARG.
let's go on to that next slide and take a look at a little bit more of the Texas Electric.
Ooh, these are fun photographs.
These are fantastic photographs for which I need to acknowledge another fantastic source of information for this episode, which is the Texas Electric Railway by Johnny J. Myers. It was bulletin number 121 of the Central Electric Rail Fans Association. This guy, it says it's a bulletin, which makes you think that maybe it's just like a little leaflet. This is damn near a 300-page book on the Texas Electric and all of its predecessors. All of the photos on this page came from Johnny J. Myers and his collection. So, up to show you a little bit of what it was like on the Texas Electric Railway. On the top left, we could see in either 1928 or 29, based on that particular model of Buick being loaded into the boxcar there. This is the interurban terminal in Dallas, and they are shipping this automobile in a boxcar to one of the stations along the line. I don't know who ordered it, but whoever it was the first one to do so, because we can see that the Worsham Company, who I couldn't learn anything about it except that they were in Dallas, was responsible for shipping these cars. And that was one of the things they would do. If you paid for it, they'd load an automobile in a boxcar and ship it up to your local station.
First auto rack on an electric railroad.
I mean, pretty much. It's not quite as specialized as an auto rack car, but you can see there's a nice little freight motor in front of that boxcar that's just waiting to take this thing off at God knows what. He probably did 60 miles an hour in some places.
Faster than that.
These guys hauled ass. The interurban did haul ass. The Texas Electric Railway notably did not have speed limits over most of their route. There were speed restrictions on certain curves where it was like, okay, if you go any faster than X speed, you're gonna derail the train. But outside of that, it was, per the rule book, left up to the motorman's judgment as to how fast they could safely travel. And notably, there weren't signals over most of the routes either.
God.
So there were what were called warning signals on ahead of like some blind curves, but not all of them. And it would basically let you know if somebody was coming through that curve from the other way. But that was it. It wouldn't tell you if like you were we're getting there.
This feels very unsafe.
It was incredibly unsafe, but goddamn, it was so cool. Have you ever you've heard an interurban running at I don't know as fast as this, but at higher speeds, that hum is cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's fun. I can't imagine doing it without signals. Holy shit!
No signals, no
radios.
I mean, it was all based. Yeah, no radios. It was all based off of timetables. If something changed, it was up to you to notice that, like, hey, I didn't meet this train where I think it should, and then you had to walk over to a line side telephone and call the dispatcher and go, "Hey, bud, what's up? What am I doing now?" And he would give you instructions from there.
Oh my god.
So I want to move to the photo on the right, which I think is a neat one.
It
This is
looks
taken at
amazing.
this is such a great photo for so many different reasons. So right up front, we have an interurban car stopped at an intersection. And this intersection, you could still find it today, is the intersection of Bryan Street and Haskell Street in Dallas. And the first clue that this is somewhere in Dallas is the fact that behind the interurban car, there is a streetcar because through a lot of Dallas, the Texas Electric Railway and Dallas Railway and Terminal, who was the provider of public transit in Dallas at the time, shared tracks with each other. Um, Notably, this photo is pre World War II, which I can tell because that streetcar in the back. Um, it's a little hard to see, but you can kind of tell that there's a door in the center of that car. These streetcars were called Peter Witts. They were built in 1927 and they were designed for two-man operation, a motorman and a conductor. And the conductor would be at the middle door accepting fares and whatnot. Uh, During World War II, all of those were rebuilt to be one-man operation cars, and that center door is removed. So the let me see, the notes say that this photo was taken in 1927, which means that streetcar behind the interurban car was brand new.
Yeah, that's my my museum that I volunteer at has a Peter Witt that's like in pieces, but we have an operational JG Coolman car, which is a proto Peter Witt almost. I almost
Very
it
similar.
and
Very
yeah,
similar.
it's the exact same thing. Um, it's a it's a thing to drive if you've never driven one of them before, but no speedometer or anything. But yeah, they really are just running them together. Do you think that anybody ever just was like, let's just take this out onto the interurban tracks. Let's see what happens. Did they ever just like joyride it?
I will not say that that never happened because there were specifically rules on both the rule books of the interurban and uh the Dallas Railway and Terminal that said that, at these points where the lines diverged, you were only supposed to go the way that was appropriate for your company. Like you stay on your side of the fence, basically. But this is also early 20th century. If it happens late at night when the managers are asleep, it didn't happen. So maybe
Be so
there
fucking
was a
cool.
there actually was one recorded instance of streetcars getting out on the interurban, wherein the the subsidiary of General Electric that ran the Texas Electric Railway also ran the municipal streetcar service in Waco. And when that line was uh, abandoned, when Waco decided they didn't want to pay for it anymore, uh, General Electric decided that they wanted to get everything they could uh, of value out of those streetcars, which meant all of the motors, the controls, the air compressors, door hardware, and whatnot. Stuff that would cost a fair bit to replace, but if you have a working one, you could just take it off of one car and put it on another. So they decided to do these deconstruction programs in the shops of the Texas Electric Railway. Well, the issue is that all of those streetcars were in Waco, and the Texas Electric Railway shops were in South Dallas. So then the natural solution came to be just run the streetcars up the interurban to Dallas.
So
You couldn't
fucking
ride on
cool.
them, but there are accounts of motormen who would just put the streetcars to full throttle and just sit back and wait and see how fast they could go with it. Like they had never been a lot of them had never been out on the interurban before, so they didn't know it. But word got out quickly that like, hey, there's a 4 mile stretch of dead straight flat track once you go past that barn with the red X on the door or something. And once you see that go by, man, just rip it open. Let's see what happens.
That's so fucking cool. I cannot imagine what being in that thing must have sounded like, because they are not quiet
They are not
cars.
designed for high speeds. Street cars are not designed for high speeds. That must have been a hell of a ride.
I would love to do that so much, but also that would be the most terrifying thing I could possibly think of.
I I know someone who isn't me that got to experience something a little bit like this on a very quiet street in Dallas, probably 10 years ago, give or take. Um, on a very dead weeknight where nobody was on the street, decided to see just how fast a streetcar can go. And let me tell you, it is loud as fuck and it is bouncy as fuck too. Because part of the reason the interurbans are so much larger is because the trucks, the wheel sets that they sit on, needed room for things like dampers and equalizers that would take that bit of the bounce that you feel going down the track out of the ride of the passengers. So components in the truck would absorb that. Streetcars don't have that at all. It is rough. It is very rough to say the least.
That must.
On an unrelated note, a Melbourne W2 streetcar can get up to 34 miles an hour without going into parallel. And the only reason I didn't go the only reason someone who isn't me didn't go into parallel, if you know what that means, is because those notches were physically blocked off because of assholes like me. But yeah, they can haul a little bit of ass.
That's fantastic. Now, see, I have I love this picture, like with the little interurban car stop sign and everything up there too. But my eye is continuously being drawn to the lower left photograph, which is presumably why safety needed to be invented.
Yeah, so remember what I said about there not being signals?
Yeah.
The This was a nice little whoopsie that happened because there wasn't a signal. In this case, both train crews involved did everything perfectly right, but maintenance of way, the guys who are responsible for taking care of track, uh, didn't keep up on their maintenance. So this was the wreck of the Blue Bonnet Special on October 15, 1938. Interurban car number 306 was traveling northbound and was meeting a freight train who had taken a siding that let it get out off of the main line and out of the way. This siding had switches on both ends, north and south, so that the freight train could just pull into the siding. The interurban train would come by on the main, and then the freight train would just continue out onto the main and keep going along its work. Well, the freight train pulled over into the siding, sat there and waited, and then the crew of both trains watched in horror as while this passenger train hit the switch, it actually picked the switch.
Oh,
And it
no.
split the points, and the lead truck all of a sudden went from going down the main and right by the freight train to going into the siding and directly into the freight train.
Oh no.
And it just smashed straight into it. This must have been at a relatively lower speed, because you can see that despite a lot of broken glass and bent metal, that interurban car is in fairly good shape. If I remember correctly, there weren't any fatalities on this one. But that was the sort of thing that could have been prevented with a proper signaling system, because a full signaling system like centralized train control would not have given this passenger train a signal unless the switch that led to the siding was fully in the position to line that train for the main and locked into place. And if it couldn't move those points all the way over and lock it into place, then that passenger train would have gotten a red signal. And then they would have had to call the dispatcher and they would have had to come out and figure out why there's a red signal when there's no obvious reason otherwise. And then they would have looked at that switch and go, oh, hey, that switch didn't line all the way. These two trains would have hit each other. And whoop, oh, glad we have the signal. So that was close. All right, get it locked up and we can let the train, let the passenger train by. And we'll get it fixed after everybody clears out. But no, there was no indication that that switch was not fully locked in the normal position for the main line until the passenger train hit it, and then the passenger train hit the freight train.
Yeah, that's one of those terrifying things. It's like the train just suddenly moves in a way it's not supposed to, coming right at you.
Oh, yeah, real fast. I can't imagine being like the motorman on the freight train who was probably just sitting there and smoking his third cigarette of this 5 minute wait because that's what you did at the time. Got his feet kicked up and it's like, oh my God, they're finally here. All right, cool. We'll get to go soon. And then just a half second of did it move towards me? Oop, bam, there you go. And now you've hit each other.
Maybe he was smoking a pipe. Guys used to smoke pipes back in the day.
There's a very good chance. Okay, so instead of his third cigarette, he might have been getting down to the bottom of that pipe, which, let's be real, was way cooler.
Oh yeah, pipe. Just sitting there smoking a corncob pipe out of the door of your electric engine. That's a level of cool that only the guys on New Jersey Transit in the '80s on the GG1s could match.
Oh my God, dude.
The photos from the last runs of the GG1s are so incredible.
Yes, they are. And this is what they took from us, big, powerful electric railways. We could have made them safer and just kept these clean electric railways, but no. We get interstates instead. So let's go to that next slide and take a look at a couple of little things here. On the left, we have what may be the last timetable issued by the Texas Electric Railway. I don't know. It is the latest that I've seen. So as soon as I saw it on eBay, I bought it. But like I said, the Texas Electric Railway shut down in 1948, December 31st, 1948. So May would have been pretty late in the year. They probably didn't change anything by that. And if they did make any changes, it might have been minor enough to not justify publishing a new timetable. Maybe just like make a little sign to post next to the rack of the timetables that says, hey, by the way, this train on this branch doesn't run anymore.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
On January 1st, none of these trains will run.
Yeah, which is what's happening right there in the top right photo. We can see that is the last train from Waco to Dallas at the Dallas Interurban Terminal, posed next to the bus that is going to take over its job the next day. And for quite a while they transitioned in early 1949, the buses of the Texas Electric Bus Company, because they couldn't call it Texas Electric Railway, but the Texas Electric Bus Company would just arrive at the Dallas Interurban Terminal, pull on the tracks into the station, and that's where they would load and unload.
That must have been so fucking depressing. Like it's almost like nowadays rocking up to the American Airlines terminals at Philadelphia and your plane is now a bus to Atlantic City or whatever, because they do that. There's like 4 or 5 routes that are just buses.
That's weird. I didn't even know American ran buses in any way, shape, or form.
They contract them out to a third party, but
of course.
There's like 5 or 6 from American and a couple I think on United that are all in the Northeast that are like, this is a 20-minute flight on a CRJ, but we are not going to do that. So instead, you can take the bus to Atlantic City, and it is after security. So you have to go through security to get on a bus.
TSA to get on the bus. Oh my God.
It's marketed as an American Airlines flight. The buses are even wrapped. the bus company is actually listed as in the same way they would list like the regional jet operator. It's so dumb.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, they have their own gates.
I that's a new level of weird for me. But
Yeah.
that was the end of passenger service on the Texas Electric Railway, December 31st, 1948. However, notably, um, a lot, not a lot, but a fair chunk of the freight service to customers who actually ordered whole cars full of freight continued all the way up until September 10th, 1949. And the the reason this happened was because the Interstate Commerce Commission would not allow the abandonment of these freight customers just as quickly as the passenger trains did. So the Texas Electric Railway then began negotiations with the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway to take over these customers. But the Texas Electric could not stop servicing them until the ATSF every had built connections to every single customer that they were taking over. So this photo on the bottom right is the last day of freight switching on the Texas Electric Railway, and that is at the Hormel canned meat plant in South Oak Cliff, Dallas.
Nowadays, BNSF would just say we're not switching you anymore and leave.
And I'm pretty sure I know roughly where this is. And if I'm correct about it, it's directly next to a dart station that I never saw a single train on. I never saw a single car on. I didn't even know who the line belonged to until one day, for some reason, I got stuck at that station and I just kind of started wandering around and waiting for operations to get back to normal so I could get on my train and leave. And I walked over to a building that had tracks next to it, and there was a switch stand out there that still had an ATSF lock on it.
Oh my god, that's
And then that's when I
crazy.
started connecting the dots. I was like, oh, this is the old Santa Fe right here. Huh.
That's wild. Did anything happen on the last day of note? Because I know that like on the South Shoreline in Chicago, their last day of electric freight ended prematurely when one of the Little Joes decided to like deposit most of its brake gear onto the tracks while it was
Oop,
following the main line.
oop.
One
Oh, that's
assumes
an
the
issue.
protest. What?
So, as far as I know, no. Um,
Oh, so it went quietly into
actually,
the good night.
it it went quietly. I don't even know if anybody else was there besides the photographer who took this photo and the employees of the Texas Electric Railway who I don't know how they still had this job. Maybe they were the most senior guys or what. I know it wasn't the most senior employee because we'll actually touch on him a little bit later.
Ooh,
But
foreshadowing.
let's go to that next slide.
Is that foreshadowing? It's not foreshadowing. Color
That particular
images.
one is not. So now we're getting into the meat of it. And Joe, it is time for a date.
Oh no.
April 10th, April 10th, 1948.
A date.
The
Is this why the Texas Electric did not live to see 1949 with rail operations? I
It is a significant part of it.
Oh no.
So, thank you. I want all of you to know that my wife is absolutely amazing because I ran out of a drink and I just texted her and I asked her, could you please help me out and bring me a drink? And she just did. She's the bomb.
That's wonderful.
Hell yeah. So thank you, Sasha. Um, April 10th, 1948. There was a collision. We will we will get into this collision, but let's first take a look at what was involved in this collision.
What was
First up,
involved
we
was
have
the most secure stool anyone has ever used to drive a train from.
These were specifically not bolted to the floor so that they could be taken out easily, so that they could do like quick swaps when they stopped at the station that was right outside of the shops. A mechanic could just come out with a good stool and swap out the one that was bad for whatever reason, and it was just like a 2-second exchange.
I'm imagining nowadays that if this were a thing, the minimum equipment list would be like, if not, you have to stop at IKEA.
it it I mean, it worked for them. It seemed to work really well. But first we're going to take a look at what was train number 3. Um on the schedules, trains were given numbers that determined when each departure from a station from like Dallas to Denison had a number. So train number 3 is going to be our southbound train on April 10, 1948.
And this is the
It had
Dallas to
departed.
Denison branch.
It is, but this train did not actually run the entire branch. It started in McKinney at about 7 o'clock in the morning. I believe it was 7:05. Let me see here.
He's got the original source. Wikipedia
Yeah, I'm looking at the Interstate Commerce Commission report right now, and I can't. Oh, that's right. I found it on a different website. I'm pretty sure it was 7:05. I'm so sorry. I know this is awful. You're having to listen to me scroll through and look for this.
So basically, it was fuck o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it was too fucking early. I would not have wanted that run. It's supposed to be at that time. We'll get there. Oh my God. No, it was even worse. That car left McKinney at 5:30 in the morning.
Fuck off.
I
How
don't.
many cigarettes does it take to get you out of bed? Jesus Christ. That's a one pack that's one pack worth of nicotine just to get you upright.
That's what it would take for me at the very least. I do not do early mornings.
Like you just take the entire pack in your mouth and then you just strike them. You hold it up to the traction wire to light them all at once.
I actually would be tempted to try just taking all of the cigarettes out of the carton and wringing them out like a sponge over my mouth to see if I could get the nicotine that way. But train number 3 departed McKinney at 5:30 in the morning, which, as we established, is awfully early in the morning, and I can't tell how or why he ended up there, or if he chose this run or what. But that operator was a man. That was a man named J.W. Davis, who lived in Dallas, and at the time, he may have driven up to McKinney to start this run, but he probably got there on an interurban car. Did he leave there? Did he leave Dallas and just run out of service up to McKinney and turn around? I don't know, but that had to be early in the morning.
That's like
I don't like it.
That's like a 3 a.m. wake up call at that point. Like you have to get up, get dressed, smoke a cigarette, make coffee, smoke another cigarette, pack your pipe, drive to the station and either smoke another cigarette, sign in, get on the train, either the train that you're driving or another train. Make sure that you're standing in the conductor's vestibule so you can smoke out the door because you're on an employee ticket, so you don't get first class. Then you've got to smoke 2 more cigarettes or the entirety of your pipe before you get to Denison. Not Denison.
Oh no.
To McKinney.
McKinney.
You've got to speed smoke the pipe to get through it on the way to McKinney, because that's only a couple of stops, and then you have to get off, do your pre-trip while packing your pipe, and then you have to get in and start off on the first cigarette of the day.
So here's the thing: you couldn't even get the cigarette on the way up there because this car was designed for one-man operation. Car number 365 of the Texas Electric Railway was built in 1913 by the St. Louis Car Company. It was originally built as Southern Traction Company number 300, and that was designed to be run with a motorman and a conductor. But in 1934, it was rebuilt to be a one-man operation car. So that photo on the left you see of the man behind the controls of an interurban car was the only Texas Electric employee on that car.
Well, that's why you're
He
smoking
might,
a pipe. It lasts a
well, I
while.
mean, maybe. I mean, if he was deadheading an empty car up there, I probably would have smoked on the way too. I'm not going to lie. But he was running this car by himself. In the photo on the right, you can see that just to the left of that sign that says Dallas Special, you can see kind of a recessed section on the body of the car. That was the one door on and off of the interurban car. There were no emergency exits. Um, but that would be immediately to the right of the motorman that we see in the photo on the left. That this car was rebuilt so that one man could operate it entirely by himself and it would save the company money. Because by this time, this is post war. The age of the automobile is coming. More people are being able to afford cars and less people are having to take interurbans. So it is getting more expensive to operate these every single day.
Is he checking tickets, or is he taking fares, or is that all handled at the station?
Depends on which station you're at. A larger station like Dallas or Waco may have had somebody on the platform to take fares and validate tickets as everybody was lining up to get on the car, just to try to speed things along, and so that car could depart and make room for another one to arrive. But pretty much anywhere else, that motorman is taking care of everything. There is a fare box on that car. He has a ticket punch. He has a stack of blank tickets, and he will ask you where you're going, collect your fare, and then punch out on the ticket where you started and where you're going.
So it is like a modern day bus, isn't it? It's like
Pretty much
everything all. Jesus, that must
a
suck.
big electric bus.
So like a
I don't
bus
know.
from
I think
2025.
I except it runs off overhead wire instead of battery.
So it's like a bus in Dayton or Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. And side note, this is why we need trolley buses, because they're so rad. If you want to know what it was like to ride an interurban, get on a trolley bus. You'll get a pretty good approximation of it. The sound and the experience is fantastic. But I honestly think I would kind of prefer handling the fares by hand with like a die punch or a validator and just a stack of blank tickets, because I've tried several different modern fare boxes and they're all just ass. I hate them. You have to remember obscure codes for various different tickets and destinations and combinations of senior pass, student ID in this zone, senior pass in that zone. But then the students at this college get a different rate, but only when they ride these 3 routes that run on every third Thursday of the year. And just give me a stack of tickets that all look the same. I'll click the punch where I am and where you're going, and we'll figure it out from there.
You want to know how bad it can really be? Once when I was in college, I got on a campus loop bus where I went to school, and they had just pulled it out of the depot, so they hadn't actually started the electronics on the fare box that didn't actually need to work, because the it was just like you just showed your student ID and you could ride for free. What operating system was it running?
I don't remember. I honestly tried to forget it.
No, no, no. What
I
operating system comes on when it when this fare
on
box
your fair.
boots up?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking
No, no,
what I
no.
used when I was.
No, no, no. What operating system pops up? This is in 2000 and probably 17, 2016.
Did it have a GUI?
Yes.
ME?
Windows
Windows
ME
ME?
Enterprise.
Hell yes. Nailed it.
window. I was
But that's also
shocked.
terrifying that they were still running that. That's so vulnerable.
I mean, I bet it wasn't connected to anything, but
I mean, it has to be able to connect to something at some point if they ever want to like change the fares or the fare structure.
I
And
think
if
they
they
just
connected it to computer that was connected to the internet, that's a vulnerability.
yeah, nobody's gonna hack the Kent State campus buses. I don't think, or if they do, they're welcome to it.
Is that a challenge?
Actually, I take it back. Please hack the Kent State campus buses. They sucked.
Getting hacked and all of a sudden the service gets better.
Yeah, at least then we'd know where it was. I've never. It's so terrible. I had to call. There was a phone number on every bus stop, and I had to like every day when I would go to class, I had to call and be like, "Where's the bus?"
Hey,
Sometimes you
yo,
just
girl,
wouldn't
where you
know.
at?
One time I missed. I watched the bus drive away, and I actually just was like, "Fuck it, I'm walking." I beat it to where I was going on foot.
Oof, that's sad. That hurts.
It hurt. My calves ached for like 2 hours afterwards.
I used to get that every now and then when I ran the trolleys in uptown Dallas. Late at night on Friday or Saturday when McKinney Avenue would just get like bumper to bumper traffic with bar goers, I would be sitting at the same red light for 5 minutes, which happened to be next to a stop. And then somebody would come up and they'd go, "Hey, can we ride?" And I would be right up front with them. I was like, "Yes, you can, but be aware you'll probably get there faster if you just walk because I'm stuck in this traffic."
Always the unfortunate thing. We need to have everything be grade
So,
separated.
oh, it would be so nice. So now that we've met Operator Davis on train 3 on car number 365, let's take a look at the other player in our incident on April 10, 1948. Let's go to that next slide. I would
Another
like to
photograph.
introduce to you Mr. Z.L. Lowe of Waxahachie, Texas. He was a motorman at 26 years old, and on this day, he was operating train number 6 out of Dallas. That one is the one that left at 7:05 in the morning, and I believe it was going all the way up the line to Denison. Um, at the time, he was operating car number 366, which you can see in the bottom right. The top left photo shows what that car looked like when it was built. Uh, the photo is of Northern Texas Traction Company number 27, which is not the same car in our case, but it was from the same order. Texas Electric Railway was rebuilt in 1935 to become from Northern Texas Traction number 26 to become Texas Electric Railway 366. Eventually, it had another number change in there somewhere, but I could not keep track of it. This car was also built in 1913. It was a higher speed car. So this one, like several other pieces of equipment, had been rebuilt to be a one-man operation car. So Mr. Lowe was theoretically the only employee on board train number 6 at the time of the incident. And you can see it was rebuilt to be a front entrance car. It is big. It has a steel subframe, but the body of the car is wood. Same for 365 in the previous photo. The frame is steel, the body is wood.
Okay.
And Mr. Lowe is he looks like a nice guy. For all intents and purposes, he is. But Mr. Lowe made a grievous mistake on that day. Excuse me. Let's take a look at the next slide and we'll talk about train orders for just a little bit.
Oh my god, a
So
document.
for those, hey, I want you all to appreciate the effort I went through for this because I could not find an original Texas Electric Railway train order to make an example out of, but there is one in the Interstate Commerce Commission report on this incident. So I made new train orders and filled them out for this show.
That's excellent. We appreciate the work.
So
I appreciate the work that you have done.
I have actually had a lot of fun setting this up. Like getting the slide deck together was a little bit of a pain, but once I figured out how I wanted it to flow and what materials I needed, I had a lot of fun with this. Like I'm so disappointed I didn't get to use it, but I have scans of some massive maps that came with that book I mentioned earlier. And I got to go to a branch of the local library that had the largest document scanner I have seen yet to scan in those maps. Unfortunately, they are so big that if I put them in a slide and bring them down to a size that's small enough to have anything else in that slide, you can't read the map at all. So we didn't get to use those, but it was a fun experience nonetheless. So train number 3 and train number 6 were both first class passenger trains. The class of service was used on the Texas Electric Railway to determine who had the right of way when it came to uh, points along the line where those trains would meet and pass each other. The higher your class number, the more stuff you are going to have to give way to. So, like a class 3 train, which might be like an extra freight train, would have to give way to a first class passenger train. However, in this case, both train numbers 3 and train numbers 6 were both first class. And according to the timetable, they were scheduled to meet at a point on the line called Jenkins. This was a full siding off of the main line. It had a switch on both the north and the south end of the siding so that a train going in either direction could move over into the siding, let another train pass, and then continue straight out the opposite end of the siding.
Okay.
However, Mr. Davis on train number 3 had experienced a minor delay. These two trains were supposed to meet at the siding at Jenkins at 7:36, and Mr. Lowe, Motorman Lowe on train number 6 arrived at Jenkins. Did not see train number 3, so he went to a wayside telephone and called the dispatcher and asked for instructions because the meet did not happen as the timetable said it would. So he needed special instructions to proceed further. The dispatcher had already been in touch with train number 3 and had taken into account the delay and the missed meet at Jenkins. So the dispatcher gave operator Davis on train number 3 this train order. Number 14, dated April 10, 1948. Train number 3 will meet train number 6 at Kirkland. Trains receiving this order will, with respect to each other, run to the designated point, and having arrived there, will meet in the manner provided by the rules. I want you to remember, meet in the manner provided by the rules. We'll touch on that again here in just a little bit. But these motormen would carry books with forms that looked like this, and when they talked to the dispatchers, they would fill them in. The dispatcher would verify by having the motorman read back those instructions that they had understood it properly and in its entirety before allowing them to continue. Mr. Davis on train number 3 copied the train order exactly as the dispatcher read it off to him, and there was no problem. Train number 3 continued south, expecting to see train number 6 at Kirkland. When train number 6 arrived at Jenkins and did not see train number 3 and contacted the dispatcher, he was giving the exact same train order. Train number 14, date of April 10, 1948. Train number 3 will meet train number 6 at Kirkland.
Okay.
What were you saying?
Don't you mean order number 14, not train number 14?
A train order number 14. I'm sorry, I've messed that up.
That's
So
why we
this is
have
what the dispatcher
recaps.
read.
That's literally
Yes,
the
we
whole
do.
point of this.
Yes, we do, because we're dealing with relatively early 20th century telephones. The quality is not great. The fidelity is not what you would expect or experience today. So when the dispatcher read at Kirkland, Mr. Lowe heard something entirely different. Can you just tap the next arrow over to get the next image up?
That?
He copied that he was train number 3 was going to meet train number 6 at Perkins.
Oh no.
Now,
Is Perkins near Kirkland?
they are 18.3 miles apart.
That's not near Kirkland.
That is nowhere near Kirkland. So when Lowe heard this, he read back train number 3 will meet train number 6 at Perkins. But due to the quality of the telephone line, the dispatcher heard Lowe say Kirkland and didn't think anything of it. Nothing at all.
Now I have a question, which is that would Lowe reasonably expect would meeting at Perkins as opposed to Kirkland, or I don't know, whatever the next one after Kirkland is, would this Perkins meet be unrealistic, or is he just going to go like, damn, they really were delayed, and just sort of shrug his shoulders and go along with it?
As far as he knows, train number 3 didn't meet him at their scheduled spot at Jenkins because it was super late. It must be super late, because why else would the dispatcher have given him an order to meet at Perkins, which is almost 20 miles north of where he was sitting? Actually, from Jenkins, where he made the call, it would be almost exactly 20 miles north. So he just went, damn, train 3 is really late today. That sucks. And just took off.
Oh no.
And that is where we get our issue at. Got to flip through my source material here. What was that time? There it is. 7:30. Okay, hit that next slide, and we'll go up to 7:42 in the morning on the morning of April 10, 1948.
Oh my God, a watermark.
I refuse to pay for historic aerials for the 2 times a year that I need it. So I would like to offer a helping hand to anybody with working eyes who cannot make out what's going on right now. Can you hit that arrow one more time to go onto the next thing?
This makes
let's get some let's get some help in there. We have 3 lines marked in this map. On the far right, we have a blue line with circles that marks the Southern Pacific Railway. This will play into it, sort of, and I'll come back to that in just a moment.
Did you make
To the
this?
left of that, I did.
It looks so.
This is why I was.
It looks so.
Oh, don't say it looks professional. Oh my God. This is what I was consulting Ross about last night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm still not super happy with the colors, but it is a little bit easier to see. The red line on the left with the squares is the right of way of the Texas Electric Railway. And there is a little green line that branches off of that red line part, like halfway up the image, that has stars on it. And that is the Kirkland siding. Now, this is the spot of our collision. But before we get to the collision, we need to go over a rule. So I mentioned that there are different classes of trains on the Texas Electric Railway, and that higher class trains had to give way to lower class trains. But both trains 3 and train 6 were both first class train. So who gives way to who? There are actually no rules dictating this. There is nothing in the Texas Electric Railway dictating this. The professional courtesy is that if you get to a spot with a siding, or yeah, proper siding that has a switch on either end that you could just pull in one end and then pull out the other end after the meet, whoever gets there first takes the siding. For a spur like this, like Kirkland, you can only pull straight into the spur if you are traveling northbound. So the common courtesy was, in this situation, the northbound train would go into the siding at Kirkland, wait until the southbound train passed by, and then the train in Kirkland would back southbound just enough to get out of the siding, clear of the switch, and then continue northbound. But there was no rule in the book dictating this.
I love my anarcho-capitalist electric train network that runs entirely off of social norms.
That's really all it was. I don't know if this had never been an issue before, but it came back and bit him in the ass because on this day, I did my math horribly. So on the right, we have the map from the ICC report on this incident. The point of the accident is just north of the siding at Kirkland. The point where the trains were supposed to meet was 8.2 miles south of that. And then the point at Perkins, where Mr. Lowe thought they were going to meet, was 18.3 miles north of the actual collision point.
19.7, because you have to add for the 1.4 to Turner.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right. So way up there. So I mean,
it's
so
long
look,
enough to be like,
an
I guess they must be delayed.
An almost 10-mile or just over 10-mile difference already from not meeting at Jenkins to going up to Kirkland. That's already a fairly significant delay. There's no radio. Lowe couldn't hear Davis on train 3 going, "Oh, I'm late because of this reason and I'm at this spot." So he didn't know what was going on, just that the dispatcher told him go to Perkins, or so he thought.
So I have a
And he
follow-up
just thought he'd
question.
meet somebody up there. Let's
So
go. What you got?
train 3 was leaving McKinney, right?
Correct.
Is McKinney before or after Perkins? Because I'm doing that math in
don't
my
know.
head, and it seemed like, so 8.2 plus 1.9 plus 1.4 plus 18.3. Knowing
Let me check the maps I couldn't include.
What little I do about the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think McKinney would be before Perkins. Which
It's marked. I've seen it on the map. It's marked. Hang on. That would be under this folder, under the maps folder. I gotta turn my head. This is the Denison area. So let's see. Wouldn't be quite that far north. That one is. I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay. The Perkins siding is a couple of miles south of McKinney.
Oh, so this is.
So I mean, this is plausible still. This
guy he thought that train 3 was so late that they're like
was turbo late.
Okay, that's like that. It being that close to McKinney kind of sells it. Like then, because it's like he must have been like, shit, they're not here. Where are they? Meet at Perkins. Like Perkins. He must have walked
Like,
back.
oh my God, that's a bad day.
He must have been walking back to the train going like, I'd better speed up a little because this guy is going to be like the color of a tomato when I see him at Perkins just from how late he is, and I don't want to make his day any worse. Like this is one of those things where he lights the cigarette and he breathes in so hard that the entire thing turns to ash in one go.
Like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Like just the entire cigarette disintegrates in a second. He's just that mad.
Oh, buddy.
Like
I would believe it. Yeah, if I was that late, I probably would.
And so
Or to put this in context for our younger uh younger listeners. So imagine if you were so late and so angry that you burned up your disposable vape in like 2 hits.
oh god, I hadn't thought about that. What the fuck? Holy shit.
Two gigantic hits.
Yeah, just like the
And
entire.
that's the kind of bad day you're having.
It's like ain't nothing making this better. You're hearing about this for like the next 18 hours of your life.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Every every passenger would be complaining at you, and it would likely be something that was entirely out of your control, so all you can do is go, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I know it's bad, I'm sorry, I'm doing what I can, I'll get you there as soon as I can, I'm so sorry.
And you've got to remember, this is 1948. These Texas accents you hear are going to be like so thick that like
Oh, it's
it
gonna have some drawl on it.
imagine being accosted by Foghorn Leghorn every minute of the next like of your entire
Not
shift.
quite. Not quite, almost, but not quite. Foghorn Leghorn was a little too Cajun for this, but
Okay.
not by much.
Okay, but
But
like some
there still would have been some of that in there.
yeah, just like a thousand people who look and think like John Connolly, just wearing a cowboy hat, going, "Where the fuck were you, boy?" Never mind that you're 20
Yeah.
years older than they are.
Yes.
Eh, that's
And
how.
also because of how early in the morning this is and the timing that train 3 should have had getting into Dallas, this car was absolutely loaded to the gills with commuters.
So
And it
so
had 54 seats in it. Every single one was full, and people were standing in the aisle and the vestibule at the back.
yeah, and so keep in mind, just to make sure that everybody else is on the same page as us. This is what the driver of train 6 thinks is going on. He thinks that train 3 is so late that this is all happening, and it is probably
Yep.
affecting his like mood, like just from the sheer bad vibes that is like emitting
Oh,
from
yeah.
his subconscious. In actuality, train 3 is like 15 is like 10 or 15 minutes late in that gray
Give or
area
take.
where you're like, I can make up 5 minutes. We'll be 5 minutes behind. It's fine. I can just like I can grab a sandwich on the next go or something. And it's like
Yeah.
instead of this one. And so they're just like clipping along probably a little bit above what's strictly safe for track speed to try and make up those few minutes behind. And so you so that's what's happening as they approach what is very clearly a blind corner in the middle of a copse of trees.
Yes. So what happened at 7:42 a.m.? Hit that arrow one more time.
Oh,
They
there's a
met
star.
right
Oh
there.
no.
Right at this star, they met each other. Uh, they saw each other from approximately 500 feet away,
Oh, that's
and both of them put their trains into emergency at roughly the same time, but it did nothing. Operator Low reportedly saw this coming and had enough sense to turn around and yell to everybody to get down before he ran as far back in his lesser loaded car as he could. And he credits that with saving his life, and his passengers also credited that with saving some of their lives. Um, Mr. Davis, as far as we know, didn't have might have had time to shout to the few people who were standing behind him, but that message did not have nearly enough time to make it to the back of the car.
yeah, that's that
So they
yeah,
go
they
on.
oh no, that's the sort of
They
like
they
you're rounding the corner and you see this, and it's one of those things where you not only have to understand what's happening, why it's happening, and what's about to happen, but then also physically make yourself make an intelligible sound, because he probably yelled immediately, but not even he understood what he was saying. That's like the shit your pants level of terror, you know.
Yeah, when the only noise you could make is just
It's just like a
and
scream.
you just do an unintelligible screech,
Yeah, you
and
just
that's it.
like for those of you who have been in a car
You might get
accident.
out an oh my god.
Yeah, you know, like it seems a little bit harsh to make the joke, but like swallows his cigarette from screaming, like that sort of thing. Like that's like you just scream so hard the cigarette goes into your mouth, or you drop the pipe entirely. Like the three people who are crammed against the driver's door of this thing are probably
Yeah.
acutely aware that they are going to die, because a guy an experienced motorman going oh shit and just grabbing something as you see another train through the window, it's like, okay, yeah, no, this is, I'm going to meet
And
my maker now.
then bear in mind that due to the fact that this southbound train 3 was loaded with people, if you are more than like not even rows of seats back, if you were like more than two people deep of the folks who were standing, you did not see this coming at all. Period. End of story. You may have heard Operator Davis yell, excuse me, Dart has ruined me. I call all of these guys operators just out of habit. They're motormen. I
Or
want to give them
Wattman.
that respect.
They could be Wattman.
Texas Electric Railway specifically used motormen.
Ah,
Wattman was more of a northeastern Yankee thing.
Wattman is French. I
Um,
believe we established that in
this
the
is true. It did briefly catch on in New York, though,
did it? I
very
didn't know
briefly,
that. That's incredible.
but it was a Yankee thing. It was that's why also in the South they're not trolleys, they're streetcars because trolley is a Yankee term.
Ah,
There's so much bullshit around Yankee terminology in this state, and I hate it. But I have learned so much of it just through osmosis. I don't care what you call it, as long as I know what you're talking about. You can call it whatever you want. So they wrecked. They collided. It was ugly, to say the least. Before we get there and continue talking about what happened next, I would like to take a brief side note. You notice that I mentioned the Southern Pacific Railway, which is marked out with that blue line with the circles on it, and that it would be involved slightly later on. That is because in doing the research for this, I learned that I have been lying to myself and several other people for the last decade. I used to be an operator for DART. I thought that I ran on the right of way of the Texas Electric Railway through this area. And I thought that I went over this spot where this incident occurred every single day. But I didn't. In the research, I found out that when DART made their line up to Plano, they bought the Southern Pacific Railway right of way. So I ran up the line with the blue circles and I didn't get anywhere near. Joe, if you'll please hit the arrow one more time, we can see what's at the location of the incident today.
oh my
It is a
God.
Land Rover and a Jaguar dealership.
Oh my God, British. This is the worst thing that's ever happened on this location.
Yes, the incident we're talking about is the second worst thing to happen on this location. The first is the first through infinity is every sale that has ever occurred at this dealer.
I think maybe with a close second being to people willingly paying maintenance bills here for non-warranty work.
So the initial purchase of the car is one through infinity. The shop bills are infinity plus one plus infinity, and then at the bottom of that list is the 1948 wreck. Friends don't let friends buy Land Rovers or Jaguars. They're all terrible. Never buy a British car.
Never. The only British car that it is acceptable to buy is the first generation Honda CRV, because those were made at the Honda plant in England. And you can tell this because they have an S in the VIN for the first character, which is what England is.
Ooh,
The first
I did not know that, but it's a
until you
Honda product, so you know they had some actual standards.
yes, not to get too off case, but Honda built a manufacturing plant in England for their like European operations for a while. I think they only recently closed it down because before this they were selling the Legend in England, the Acura Legend, the Honda Legend, depending on which market you were in, and
Really?
they contracted with Rover to make these things. And
Oh,
they also made them for the U.S. They didn't make them for the U.S. market, but they made them for the European market. And then Rover also made their own version of the Legend called the Sterling 850 or something like that that they sold in the U.S. And I mean this seriously, that Rover managed to fuck up a Honda design. Rover
I'd believe
managed.
it.
Rover actually made one of the worst cars ever sold in the U.S. Like I'm sure you've probably heard the horror stories about more recent electric SUVs like the VinFast VF8 and the Fisker
Yep.
whatever it is, the new one. Those are, imagine that, but it's like 1989, 1991, that sort of time period. You plunk down your money on a brand that no one's ever heard of, and things that shouldn't break, like the dash, like the glove box door won't shut, that sort of thing, along with numerous mechanical maladies. I think Car and Driver had theirs in the shop more than they had it on the road for their test. Like it had to like
That
sit.
sounds right.
It
I'd believe it.
If you ever have the chance to find one of these, because it pops up on Facebook Marketplace, if you have the money, buy it and then destroy it. Do the world a favor. Unless you're like,
Do your civic duty.
unless you have like, car rebuilding skills, at which point you need to remove every single mechanical bit from the car, and you need to then replace it with an equivalent part from from an Acura Legend. At which point only the body will fail.
So I was going to talk to you after this recording about a guest that I'm interested in having on, and I already know you're going to get along with him just because you both know so much about cars.
I'm 100%
You two
interested.
are going to love each other.
I'm interested in any guest that you want to bring on.
We'll work
But
out logistics in a little
yeah.
bit, but let's continue on with our incident and take a look at what the result was.
Oh,
The
that looks bad.
This is bad. The cars did an action that's
Which
called telescoping,
yeah, they did. Which
and
direction
if
is
you
this
don't,
photograph facing?
hang on, I have to look at. Forgive me, listeners. I am watching the preview on Discord to keep track with him. I have to. So let's see. This is looking. I had to look at a higher, like the full image, but this is looking north. The interurban that's closest to us is 366, operated by Motorman Low. The car in the middle is 365, the southbound train 3, operated by Motorman Davis. And this is a little later in the day because by the time this photo was taken, the Texas Electric had sent out a freight motor to try to pull the cars apart and clear the wreckage.
Fam, that's not going to help. That's like a
They
pinata
have
full
to
of
clear
dead
the main.
bodies.
Now, here's the wild part. 48 people were hospitalized. Nobody died.
Oh my god.
Not a single one. Somehow.
Not even
This
the
was a
infected?
violent enough impact. No, everybody survived.
Jesus.
And we'll talk about one of them in one slide, two slides, two slides. We'll get there. But you can see that this impact was violent enough that they telescoped, which is, you know how, for the viewers that don't know this term, you know how you get an extendable telescope that has the sections that fold in on each other so you can like fit it in your pocket. And then when you want to look through it, you pull it out of your pocket and pull the ends apart. And all of these stacked sections then unfold and it helps you see a little bit better. Like imagine a pirate's sight glass.
Yeah, or like an extendable
That
police
t-
baton for a not
Yes.
sale reference.
Yes. So telescoping is when two vehicles sort of combine into each other and they stack up, and you can see quite a bit of that right here. You can also see.
This is why we don't
What?
have wooden railroad cars anymore.
Yes, remember what I said? Both cars had steel subframes but wood bodies. The Now also remember you can see that 365, which is in the middle, is kind of leaned up and into 366. That went right into the controls of 366. But remember, Mr. Lowe saw what was coming, stood up, and ran back into his further back in his car. And that's why he did not get wiped off the face of the planet when they collided.
Smart move on
This,
his part.
this, yeah, this impact was also tough enough that each one of these cars has two trucks or wheel sets that have two axles each on them. The back one on the southbound car
Oh, I
is
see it.
just
Oh
completely out
God.
of place. It is the back end of that car is sitting on the ground,
Oh
which
Jesus.
means that it had to hit hard enough for that back end to lift up enough to let go of the truck and then fall back down on the ground.
That the sound that must have produced must have sounded like a bomb had gone off.
It was whatever it was loud because it attracted a crowd almost immediately. Reports from the Dallas Morning News specifically made a note that there were so many onlookers um, in the first hour or so after the incident that emergency services and rescuers had a hard time getting to the in and out of the scene to get people to the hospitals. Overall, 48 people were taken to three separate hospitals in the area: Baylor Medical Center, Parkland Hospital, and the St. Paul Hospital. It was so many that none of them could take all of the injured on their own. But shockingly enough, as we stated, nobody died somehow. There was lots of bruises. There was lots of cuts from the glass of the windows being broken and flying around. There were several head injuries that there was at least three severe concussions noted in the aftermath of this, but nobody died. It was quite a shock. And we get some memorable photos like this one right here with the crowd standing around. And then if you could please go to the next slide for the most Texas ass photo I have ever seen in my life. That is a man on a horse inspecting the wreckage of the incident.
That's a remarkably small amount of telescoping for how violent the collision was. I guess the steel frames did a lot.
It had to have because I should have pointed this out in an earlier slide, but these were actually equipped with anti-climbers, which
No,
was a way that the front bumpers.
they had
Yeah,
those there?
go back to flip back to slide number 12. That color photo, that one that had a color photo on the right and the motorman on the left.
No shit, that's the anti-climber. I hadn't realized that.
So for those of you who haven't seen it before, look underneath that sign on the Interurban that says Dallas Special, and you can see there's kind of a bumper there that has like four raised ribs on it. That's called an anti-climber, and it specifically is designed to reduce the damage when this car collides with another car that is equipped with the same anti-climber. Ideally, those two anti-climbers should hit each other, and because they're rounded on the front, deflect each other off to the side. It's not always perfect. I would suspect that one car being only lightly loaded with passengers and the other car being loaded to the gills would affect the ride height and the suspension. This is fairly early on in anti-climber technology, so they might not have figured everything out quite right. But the anti-climbers did catch and slowed down the impact just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, something's better than nothing in this instance. That's incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely it was.
Another question I had while we're just looking at this, do these cars have two poles or just one? Because I'm noticing in both of these that the freight motor has one trolley pole, but car 366 has two.
Okay. So that is a very good question. I wasn't going to go into it because it's a little unrelated, but car 366 was originally purchased by the Southern Traction Company that ran from Dallas to Corsicana. And their way to make the interurban service competitive was to make them faster. And the way they did that was that instead of having a single wire above the track that a trolley pole touched and drew 600 volts DC to power the motors, they ran two wires and they were both powered 600 volts.
Oh my
So
god.
between Dallas and Corsicana, you could run with 1200 volts DC and go faster than anywhere else on the line just because you had more power. Only certain cars were equipped to do this, but you instantly could tell which ones they were because they had two trolley poles on them. 366, even though it hadn't been down there in years because that line was abandoned in 1941, there had never been a need to remove the extra trolley pole. So Texas Electric Railway just left it up there. It wasn't worth the money or the time to take it down, and it didn't hurt anything.
That's fucking rad. That's so cool. Also,
It's
also for anyone who's just wondering, you can see those metal grates on the ground. That is actually that stuff that covered over the windows to prevent people from like hanging out of them, because people just did shit
yes.
like that back in ye olden day when windows were supposed to open because we didn't have mechanical refrigeration yet.
You could see plenty still mounted on both of those cars, but one of those grates that's sitting on the ground right now is in the possession of a man named John Landrum. And John Landrum was one of the founders of the McKinney Avenue Transit Authority, who runs the old streetcars in uptown Dallas today. And he got that grate when his father passed away. And his father got the grate when, as a young child, he heard that there was an interurban crash up in North Dallas. So rode his bike up to where this incident was, and just in all the confusion and the madness of trying to clean this up and get it out of the way so that regular service could resume, he grabbed the father, Ed Landrum, grabbed one of these window grates off of the ground and carried it home on his bike.
That's fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Oh yeah.
That's
so
perfect.
So now I'm sure this isn't going to be hard to believe, but having a big wreck like this that thankfully didn't have any deaths, but very easily could have gone so much worse, is not good for business. You may recall that I mentioned that the Texas Electric Railway ended service in December 31st, 1948, and this was on April 10th, 1948. This was the last straw. The Interstate Commerce Commission report about this incident was published just a month later, I believe it was.
Wow.
And they said that that one of the things that the Texas Electric Railway needed to do as a recommendation was to install a signaling system, and the Texas Electric couldn't afford that. Combine it with the competition of the automobile taking away fares, it just meant that the interurban was no longer a profitable business. And because this isn't a government run entity, if they're not making money, they can just quit. So they filed for the rights for abandonment and had them approved by the ICC. And that led to the end of the Texas Electric Railway. And with this accident and all the news around it, not just around the wreck, but take a look at that next slide. We could see what else came up too. Because we live in America, we get to deal with lawsuits. 10 passengers sued the Texas Electric Railway for negligence in this wreck. And I didn't look up the specifics, but they probably could have gotten every penny they sued for because it was pure negligence. There could have been signals. There could have been better telephone lines that could have, maybe allowed the dispatcher and motorman low to hear each other a little bit more clearly, but they didn't. They just kept running the way they'd always had, and it led to a head-on collision that could have been so much worse. Most notably of the lawsuits, um, Motorman Lowe on Train 6 sued the Texas Electric Railway for $35,500.
What year?
He did
What?
he filed this in December of 48.
I'm trying to figure out what the currency, what the inflation conversion would be.
Oh, I have a good calculator for that. Inflation calculator. So let's see. December of 48. Are you working on it?
Yeah, $473,527.28.
All
That
right. I
is,
have another number that I'd like for you to run the inflation on.
yeah.
And that is what Mr. Lowe eventually settled for, which was in 1949 when this finally went to court and then got settled out of court. Mr. Lowe settled for $1,750.
That seems like less. That's
Just a little bit.
that is $23,630 now. 37 and 13 cents. So that is I think that would buy you the cheapest new car on sale in the United States today. Maybe.
Maybe,
Cash on the hood
but
offer.
this caught me so off guard. I can't. So yes, he got injured in the incident. He hurt his back, his ankle. He got maybe a concussion, but I can't figure out on what grounds he was going to sue the Texas Electric Railway. I really can't. Like it, dude. It was your fault. You didn't copy the train order correctly, uh, and you just
I I
went baller up there. You didn't ask any questions about it.
I suppose that if we really want to, we could argue that it was a systems failure, that he was
It
merely the
could be,
last domino of like if we want to have like the
maybe, yeah.
domino effect, it's like there was no signaling system, there was no token like this is like they could have just used like a token block system like they did in England. Or like there was no interlockings. The phone lines were presumably two steps above can on a string, sort of thing. Like
That's
it's
a fair point.
like
It's a fair point.
I'm sure that his argument was more along the lines of I should not be the only line of defense between a head-on collision and nothing. And
I think so, and I think the fact that it was filed after the release of the ICC report plays into that, since the ICC report did specifically recommend and say that this could have been prevented with a proper signaling system. So I think maybe he was. You know what? I wonder if he was kind of villainized at the time. I didn't think to search for his name in the newspaper archives, but I wonder if he was kind of villainized and it was like, hey, I'm not the bad guy here. As far as I knew, I was doing everything correctly.
yeah,
So that the lawsuits were the last straw, Mr. Lowe's being one of them. Um, which then led to the article we see in the center of the slide. The first interurban driver takes helm on last run, which was Mr. S.B. Mathis of 1238 Iowa Street. He ran the first interurban car out of Waco to Dallas in 1913, and he ran the last train from Waco to Dallas.
that's I
And
I love that. Oh, and Mr. T.C. Barker of 915 South some other street, South
South Bishop.
South Bishop Street. I will drive the first bus. I love that
Yep.
they will just tell you where everyone lives.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was another article that noted Lowe's home address too, which that seemed like a dangerous thing to post in this situation.
Hey, nobody
But
died. You're not allowed to extract revenge.
it's Texas, man. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll shoot you for knocking on the wrong door, causing a major accident like this is
It's
like
Texas in
rounds
the
for shotgun at least.
it's Texas in the 40s though, so people might have to put on a public face of being nice.
Yeah, there is still that little bit of Southern hospitality rules there. You talk
It's
shit behind their back, but to their face, you just give them the cloyingly sweet Southern drawl and courtesy.
hmm Yeah, just tell him, bless your heart, honey, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart. I'm glad you know what that actually means.
Uh-huh. I'm also
And
I also like that the rails are going to rolling mills and stuff. Got to rip everything up.
oh, they sold everything they could, which brings us to the little snippet from the bottom right. That was from the classified section in late 49. I believe it was uh, probably August or September. There are only three more passenger interurbans left at $1,000 a piece. They stripped all of the copper and the control stands and the motors and anything that they could sell to use on other interurban railways, stripped them out and sold the bodies to private individuals who
Yeah.
then could use them as houses or barns or um,
Yeah,
I've even heard of them being used as a chicken coop.
do you want to one up your neighbors in this bougie lakefront community? Come on down to Honest John's Interurban Warehouse. We have thousands of them available for you. Nobody will be upstaged by your two truck St. Louis car interurban, guaranteed to be the biggest and neatest house on the beach. And then some
Oh,
motherfucker rolls
so
up
many.
with a monorail.
Well, this was before the streetcar shut down, which means that you could buy your bigger, larger interurban and laugh at everybody that was buying the streetcars 8 years later as they were coming in, and you thought that you were still king shit until somebody rolls up with the first monorail that is a one of its kind that you cannot one up.
Yeah, it's like everybody gangsta till the Trailblazer comes up. That's
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you missed that, please go listen to the previous episode on monorails.
phenomenal. It's a phenomenal story. What
I
is?
love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we only have we have two more sections, but I promise you it won't take you long.
How long
So
is it? How long have we been going for? We have been going for 2 hours for 1 minute. We seem to have a nice
yep,
3 hour rhythm going. I like this.
it seems to be. So let's go to my favorite section, which is but did you die? And the answer is more than likely not, because modern systems are built with signals. And uh, the image on the left is one that I took of interlocking signals on the Dallas area rapid transit, which is basically the spiritual successor to the Texas Electric Railway. Um, my train has a red signal because the track next to me has a train with a green signal. So it's keeping me from going out in front of that train that already has signals. The system works. Nobody died. That's great. Top right, we can see it actually an explanation of a specific signal from a rule book from where'd this come from? Baltimore?
Yeah, I found a website for the Baltimore light rail system's signaling system because people will just be foamers of anything.
Yeah, and of course there's a website that tells you what the signals mean and how they work. And
Yeah, there was.
and the image is what an image of one of the actual signals out on the line
Yeah,
of Baltimore.
yeah. No, it's covered in snow and it's on, so I figured it wouldn't be Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the signals in Texas do still work when it snows, but the trains don't. So it's even safer technically.
But yeah, no, these are both from Baltimore. You should have heard Zach when we were going through that website. There was actually a specific aspect that they had for, I guess there was an at grade diamond with Conrail that they specifically marked out as a Conrail signal, and he was like oohing and eyeing over it.
No, I was like, what the fuck is that? Why is there a signal on the light rail for Conrail? And again, for those of you who don't know, Conrail is not a light rail operator. They ran freight. They were unfortunately the closest we ever got to a nationalized railroad system, which they were. It just didn't spread far enough. We need more. Bring back Conrail. Return with a V. Return.
Conrail should have gotten the Rock Island. That would have been hilarious.
Yes, they should have. Yes, that would mean that I would probably run over Conrail today if that was the case, because I run over the old Rock Island line that goes between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Interesting.
I wonder if they. I was about to make a remark about dispatchers, but I won't say that. You can't. It's not slanderous if I don't say it.
Yeah, if it lives in your head, it's an inside thought. But
Yep.
I didn't know that the Rock Island made it to Texas. I don't think I ever knew that.
Yes, you can still find the pink granite ballast of the Rock Island today.
Huh. Fascinating.
Like in the morning when I go to work, I can park my car and walk about 600 feet up a hill to get to the Trinity Railway Express main line and pick up pink granite ballast from the Rock Island.
And it's just like how the Rock Island had it. Never changed, never touched again. Why would you do maintenance?
Okay. No, I'll give them that. They've kept up on that. I actually have to cross the main, and there is still an old spur that the switch has been cut out, but the tracks of the spur are still there outside the depot.
Okay.
So I have to walk over to that to get the pink ballast, but it's there.
So still as the Rock Island left it, dilapidated and barely usable.
Completely unusable now because the switch is out. The TRE cut that switch out entirely.
The Rock Island could figure it out.
Constructive derailment to service a customer.
It's like that time the museum in Colorado got a steam locomotive delivered by the CB&Q. Did you ever hear about that one?
Oh yeah, where it just showed up.
Yeah, where they just nailed down track in the middle of the street, shoved it like the 3,000 feet from their line into the yard, and then went, "It's yours now," and then pulled the track up.
Yeah, and the museum guys were watching them build the track to their museum, going, "Huh, wonder what they're doing." Like they're sitting out there for hours watching them build it, and then all of a sudden it reaches them, and then they go, "That's weird." And then all of a sudden they start bringing a steam locomotive down the track, and it's like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess we'll take it."
Refusing delivery on the spot. It's like, what the fuck? I didn't know this.
The train crew runs off yelling, "No givesies backsies."
There's a track gang just building in your direction.
Is it just me, or are they pointed straight at us?
That's so weird. Don't they have to cross the street? Sound of spikes being driven through asphalt begin. Oh, okay. They're building across the street.
All right, we're doing this. Here we go. I didn't know that you could drive spikes into asphalt, but apparently you can. At least you can once. You can run a train over that track once.
Sound of a GP38 coming over the horizon, but a steam engine appears? What the fuck? It's like a GP38 with like 7 idler cars, so it doesn't have to be on the street. It's just shoved.
Oh my god, probably. Yeah, probably.
The engine in your direction. I hope there's photos of that. That's one of the most insane stories I've heard in a minute.
There has to be somebody pester Heiss and ask if he has any photos of that, because obviously he's too young for that, but he talks to all the people that are old enough to have been there that day, just sitting at the museum going, "Huh, they're building a track right at us. That's weird."
It's like every museum has a story like that. Like the one I volunteer at, they got in the 90s a bunch of they've got a bunch of Cleveland Rapid Transit cars because obviously they're near Cleveland. It's the Northern Ohio Railway Museum in Seville, Ohio. You should go because we don't.
Shout out.
We don't have a lot of visitors and we need more. Anyways, one of the cars was delivered. They deliver them on a truck because there's a CSX line directly next to it, so they obviously come by truck. And one of the
Makes sense.
they take the cars off of the trucks and they put them onto like semis, and then they do the thing where there's like a separate like semi truck bogie in the back to actually like be the rear support. So the car itself is just the trailer on the semi. And apparently on this particular move, the trailer bogie kept wanting to yaw out to one side, so it was like pushing the entire thing out of alignment. So, and this was keep in mind that this was going directly down I-71 um at night. So what they did was every couple of
Less
miles,
people on the road. What's the issue?
it, what they did every couple of miles was they would stop the truck on the side of the road, and whatever the truck company that was doing this had a little Ford pickup truck, and they just bashed the bogie back into place with the bumper of the Ford pickup truck until it was pointing in the right direction, and then they went again until it didn't, and then they bashed into it again. And they did this over and over again. And to quote the head of the museum, the pickup truck did not fare well. The,
You
the,
don't say.
the
You
pickup truck
don't
wasn't quite
say.
right after that, but it wasn't anybody of theirs, so it didn't matter. And the car got there. The car is
I mean
theoretically this.
that company had a contract to deliver the streetcar, not the little Ford pickup.
No, it was not a streetcar. This was a fluted stainless steel rapid transit car. It was
Ooh,
this museum does. If you're interested in Cleveland Rapid Transit equipment, we do have every single generation of Cleveland Rapid Transit equipment, and also are probably going to get the cleanest pair of current rolling stock the GCRTA has when it's time for those to be retired, and that is very soon. So transportation
ooh,
costs
good
are
luck.
about transportation costs are about all that we need, and I assume we have the money for it, but I don't know. It's a very
I
small museum.
I am trying to get transit equipment donated to my local museum, which is the Museum of the American Railroad in Frisco, Texas. Shout out to them. They already have one generation of public transit equipment, which is a Bud RDC that ran on the Trinity Railway Express and the Denton County Transit Authority until 2013. We got one of those, and I'm trying to get a Dart light rail car donated to them uh, if Dart ever gets new cars, which they desperately need.
The Museum of the American Railroad also has like 9 Metro Highliners. I would just like to point that out. You guys, I counted
That
them. IRM doesn't have that many.
that would be because the president of the museum rode those cars when he was a kid growing
I
up in the Chicago area. That is his thing, and I won't comment on it any further.
so it's such a stacked lineup for a museum too. It's like
It's so bizarre. It
it's
does look kind of cool though.
it is like seriously GG1 Big Boy, uh UP
A
Centennial
Frisco 484, a UP Centennial, and then a string of Highliner
and
cars.
and one of the only 3 Alco PAs left in existence.
Oh no, you got really quiet. Did I lose you?
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, there we go. There we go. There you are.
I
You
I
scared
didn't
me. I thought another
I did
tornado hit your house.
I didn't do anything. No, it's and the only it oh it's big news not wanting me to say that there's 3 Alco PAs left in the world. I don't know
They don't
why.
want you to know
They don't
what
want
what
you,
what whatever power is contained within those three
yeah.
locomotives
They
cannot be known.
they don't want you to know that there's actually an operating one in Mexico. That's what they don't want you to know.
Whatever power's left at the one in Frisco, there isn't much of it anymore because all the sides are gone out of it.
Oh yeah, the sides are gone. They just got Doyle's old engine working at in wherever it is. But seriously, there's apparently a railroad museum in Mexico City or someplace that if you find Spanish language train spotting videos, apparently they do turn it over once a month, and it can move
Ooh.
back and forth on its own. But they have a
Oh.
PA that I don't know what its history was, but it's clearly former NDM, the last owner at least. But they have it, and it runs, and it moves. I just don't. The history of Mexican passenger railroading is very sad, and stopped abruptly, and so there's not really like much of a desire for for heritage trains.
We
So it's just sort of there.
I might know enough Spanish to go down to Mexico and try to find somebody who used to work for and pines for the Nacionales de Mexico enough to get that thing started up. So
Well,
get
they
your
run
passport
it.
ready and let's take a trip.
They run it. It moves. It's
Yeah, but
besides.
will they fire it up for us?
That's
We
true.
got to get somebody excited about it.
Yeah, we could just go there and ask and be like, "Can we see it?" And then we can go and hopefully not get killed trying to take photographs of the HSTs running the Interoceanic
Oh
Express.
Jesus Christ.
I've
I'm not gonna touch that one. I'm not gonna touch it. I
I
will say that the if you want to go to that museum, I have experience in starting up Alco locomotives because I used to work on the Grand Canyon Railway FPAs, which as far as the startup procedure goes is exactly the same as the Alco PAs.
yeah, and I I've seen enough Alcos. I can follow directions. I can do what you tell me to, but most of those are now in Cleveland, are near Cleveland at the at the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic.
Yeah.
They sold
Yeah.
most of them there, where they're
Oh yeah, you can go practice too. Take
yeah.
your phone and get me on a video call. I'll walk you through it.
It's like, hey Zach, we need to be very quiet. They don't know I'm here. Which button do I push to make this incredibly loud, smoky engine turn on?
Nothing can go wrong. All right.
Nothing.
All right.
It's only a
We've side
federal crime.
we've sidetracked enough. Let's wrap this puppy up. Can you hit that last slide, please, to show what we got left? Nope. Nope. Nothing. Go on. Get party's over. It's time to go home. Thank you all so much for listening. I want you all to know that I really have enjoyed doing the podcast as a whole, but I particularly had fun with this one, being something near and dear to my heart, being just old enough to talk to some of the people who remembered the incident, barely remembered it because they were children at the time, but they still remembered it nonetheless. This was an absolute blast for me to put together, even though trying to get it together was a pain because I started doing it on Hell Week that Amtrak started when they derailed. I I worked like 10 or 11 hours every day, drove home, and then would spend another hour or two until I was falling asleep at my desk putting this slideshow together.
Oh wow, that's a lot of effort and dedication. I need to start
I
reciprocating that.
and, I just need a few more days where I don't get relieved and have to get driven in a van back to the yard where my car is parked because those are the worst days.
You, we need to start having the autonomous Ford Transit vans pick you up so you can just take you straight to your house.
Actually, what would really probably help the best is if I could actually work on these slides in the downtime, except Google Slides sucks ass on mobile.
It's not
And
great. It's really not
it
great.
I could throw pictures in and that's it. And
I've
that's it. I had
I've
hours
done
of time I could have worked at this where I wasn't doing anything at work and I just couldn't because the app doesn't work.
it's not. You could just really make everybody looking at the inward facing cameras on on the locomotives mad at you by just pulling a laptop computer out of your backpack and just
Oh, guess
commit.
what G&W doesn't have the inclination to buy yet.
Do they not have those? Oh my god.
There's outward facing cameras that have saved my ass so many times, but inward facing, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Local man suddenly gets inward facing cameras installed on every locomotive after pulling out full desktop computer to edit podcast.
I don't know if I would trust any of those outlets on the locomotive to put out enough clean power for me to plug a desktop into.
That's why you've got to bring a UPS as well. Just
Oh, Jesus Christ. I have enough shit to carry up on those motors as it is.
it's one of those. Maybe bring one of those VR rigs that they have, where it's just a laptop and a backpack that's strapped to you.
Not a terrible idea. But we shall see how the dedication to this podcast and this entertainment goes. But I think for tonight, that's all we got. And don't forget, we're still so this episode is releasing right after, or is being recorded right after we release the first episode. We don't have any user submissions yet, but if you have stories of major incidents on public transit that you were a part of, or anything really safety related that you may have witnessed on public transit, please email us. Our email is in the description. And if you need it read out to you, it's a long one. Be ready for it. It is SYDDOYWTW@gmail.com. Take the first letter of every word in the title of this podcast. Somehow you didn't die on your way to work at gmail.com. We want to hear what kind of weird shit that you've come across on public transit.
Yeah, how did you almost die? How did you see someone else almost die? Please do not. Please do not. Okay, please do not tell us how someone else died. But if you died on the public transit and you are still able to compose an email, please reach out to us.
Reach out to us from the afterlife. I have a Ouija board in my clipboard for work. Knock on the clipboard 3 times and I'll open it up to the Ouija board and see what you have to say.
Just
I will find a way to attach a photo of that to this episode so that you can see I'm not bullshitting you.
I just imagine being the fucking engineer and you see the conductor open the clipboard and there's just a Ouija board and he starts having a seance. It's like
He didn't take it very well the first time I asked if we were going to make it back today. Yeah, he took his sunglasses off and stared at me kind of funny for a minute. And then I told him, well, nobody else ever seems to know, so I figured I'd ask to see if any of them know.
My God, that's incredible. Oh, spirits from beyond the grave, what's wrong with this engine? Just the needle pans over to yes. That's what happens anytime you get into a gen set. Is it just goes?
I was just about to say that must be a gen set day. But I think that's all we got. Thank you all so much for listening. Please tell your friends about us. Send us feedback. We absolutely love constructive criticism, and we will listen to you. If you have suggestions, we want to hear it. And especially if you have suggestions for topics, we want to hear that. We have a few good ones lined up, but I'm not entirely sure what the future holds. Largely, we're flying by the seat of our pants here.
Yeah. The one suggestion that I don't want to hear is, can you make it shorter? Because no.
Oh, you misunderstand how far the two of us are on the spectrum. If you're asking that question earnestly.
Ross made me take a test. I am not on the spectrum. I am not. I scored.
I've met you. I'll argue that. I'd argue that until I'm blue in the face.
I scored neurotypical across the board. I'm just eccentric.
We shall let the audience decide that one. But what do you say we wrap it up?
Yep.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the next episode of Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work.
Yep. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye. I'm hitting stop.